Chapter 377, Tinghua Shui, Two Kinds of High-Level Yao Arts. Ming Juzi studied the recording Yao art and searched mentally what Yao arts these two were. He knew at some details about the majority of high-level Yao arts. It had to be said this was not 3,000 years ago. High-level Yao arts were no longer common. However, no matter how long he thought for, he could not identify the origins of these two Yao arts. His curiosity increased. His first idea was this a new kind of Yao art? In the Great War 3,000 years ago, even though large numbers of Yao arts had been lost, the low and intermediate Yao arts were still passed down untouched. After 3,000 years of development, each Yao art house had focused their efforts to create new Yao arts, and those famed houses all focused on creating new high-level Yao arts. Even those Sky Yao were working towards the same goal. The development of Yao arts had reached a new era of creativity. In these years, new high-level Yao arts had been continuously invented. This had become one of the measures to judge a Yao art house. Without a high-level Yao art of their own, a Yao art house could not push into the ranks of famed houses. Was these high-level Yao arts that were created by a Yao art house? This was the most plausible hypothesis. But Ming Juzi's intuition told him it was not like that. Xiao Emoji's origins had always been a mystery, but he had a completely different quality to the Yao that came from Yao art houses. Ming Juzi was confident in his eyes. When he saw Xiao Emogu for the first time, this feeling was very strong. Maybe it was an ancient high-level Yao art that had been lost? Ming Juzi decided to do deep research. Qinghua Zong Shui felt he was going crazy. Xiao Emoji's rudeness infuriated him. Even that idiotic nobody was so impolite to him. When had the Yao of the Blue Flower family been treated so rudely? But damn it, the Blue Flower was useless against that idiotic bastard. Qinghua Zong Shui tightly balled his fists, his eyes sprouting fire. But why were the Blue Flowers useless against the idiot? Did the Blue Flower have some fatal weakness? Impossible. The reason that the Blue Flower family had such status was due to this Blue Flower. This idea that suddenly came was like a poisonous vine that creeped over his mind. Without knowing it, his face became ashen, and his back soaked. But there definitely was not a problem with this Blue Flower. It definitely was that he had incorrectly cultivated somehow. It definitely was like that. His heart tightened again. Had something gone wrong with his cultivation? Brother, what is it? Qinghua Shui, who coincidentally pushed open the door to come in, saw Qinghua Zong Shui's pale face and jumped in fright. I'm fine, Qinghua Zong Shui said with a forced smile. But his voice was dry and rough, and caused the concern on Qinghua Shui's face to grow. Qinghua Shui's body was tall and about the same as Qinghua Zong Shui. The slightly blue skin had a fine glossy sheen and contrasted beautifully against the amber eyes. It was unspeakably moving, especially her long and curled eyelashes that evoked one's pity. Is brother still angry at that Xiao Emogu? Qinghua Shui's voice was warm and seemed to hold a special power. Qinghua Zong Shui quickly calmed down. Qinghua Zong Shui hesitated for a moment, but when he recalled that poisonous thought, he couldn't help but say, Sister, is my Blue Flower not being cultivated properly? Qinghua Shui was slightly astonished. Why does brother have such a strange idea? Today, I met a person in the Wasteland Beast chessboard. He wasn't afraid of the Blue Flower at all. I had sent out 12 blue flowers, each hit his body but nothing happened to him. Traces of terror showed in Qinghua Zong Shui's gaze. Qinghua Shui was very shocked, but when she saw Qinghua Zong Shui's gaze full of terror and dispiritedness, she quickly composed herself. After thinking for a moment, she slowly opened, The world is great, and has all kinds of wonders. Even the forbidden knight of the Night Clan doesn't dare to say that it is undefeatable. Does brother remember what happened 2 years ago? Qinghua Zong Shui's expression instantly relaxed. Our cultivation of Blue Flower lacks the last 3 levels, but there definitely are no problems. Qinghua Shui's voice was confidence. Qinghua Zong Shui was relieved of his worries. He felt his younger sister was right, and mocked himself inside for having a weak mentality. The two were siblings from the same father but of different mothers. However, they had a great relationship. Qinghua Shui was the younger sister, but she was very intelligent, and Qinghua Zong Shui respected her from a young age, especially in the area of cultivation. Even though Qinghua Zong Shui was a member of the Genius Alliance, he had no thoughts of pride in front of his younger sister. He knew of his younger sister's talents in cultivation. From very young, he would ask help from his sister whenever he encountered a problem in cultivation. But his sister did not like conflict, and never used Yao arts in front of other people. Even their father did not know of his sister's talent in cultivating blue flower. Almost no one knew the name of Qinghua Shui. Their declining family was a branch family of the blue flower family. In the eyes of others, their branch had started to prosper after Qinghua Zong Shui entered the Genius Alliance. Only Qinghua Zong Shui himself knew that the one with the most potential of their branch was not him. Even he did not know just how strong his younger sister was. But he was used to trusting Qinghua Shui from a young age. Over time, all the hopes of the family had been placed on his shoulders. He was sensitive and slightly moody. He would frequently become irritated and insecure. But in front of his sister, he would unconsciously feel at peace. The air around his sister seemed to have the taste of peace. Since sister said there wasn't a problem, then there definitely was not a problem. Brother has had to deal with too much pressure recently, Qinghua Shui urged in a soft voice. Brother shouldn't care too much about Xiao Mogu. This male is arrogant in conduct, making enemies everywhere. He would not have a good ending. Brother's blue flower is at a crucial time. If you can progress another step, your cultivation would truly reach a vast place. Sister is right, I forced myself into a dead end. Qinghua Zong Shui said. Thinking about how he seemed disturbed in this recent while, he couldn't help but feel shame. Qinghua Shui smiled sweetly. Then I'm going out to play. Finishing, she floated away like a blue snowflake. Qinghua Zong Shui looked at his younger sister's back and felt warm in his heart. Since sister liked a peaceful life, then as her older brother, he needed to work harder. Qinghua Shui returned to her room and sat in thought silently for a moment. Coldness suddenly came into the amber eyes. Xiao Nanyu opened her eyes and felt her mind was unspeakably content and fulfilled. There was no exhaustion at all. Joy floated into her mind. No wonder South Sky Arrow art was the inherited Yao art of her clan, it really was powerful. Her mind moved slightly, a purple light flashed at her fingertips and a 3-cun vine arrow appeared. The small and exquisite vine arrow was made from 2 slender green vines interwoven together. At the tail were 3 green and crisp leaves. It was very charming. The vine arrow was very soft yet strong. She could fold it however she wished and it would not break. Playing with the vine arrow, her thoughts wandered. She had not secretly passed the little Yao arts and other things Darren had taught her onto her clansmen. Without Darren's permission, she definitely would not share any of it. She also did not have those intentions. Her idea was to learn some skills. In the future, she could earn more money and help her clan members have a good life. But when she learned this South Sky Arrow art, she had the urge to pass it to her clan members. The South Sky Arrow art was far too suited to the Wisteria clan. It was just the first time she cultivated it, and her consciousness had grown by 1/10. This degree of improvement almost scared her. If this improvement was maintained over the long term, then the power of the Yao art was tangible. In the Wasteland Beast chessboard yesterday, how many enemies had she destroyed? 10. Before this, it was an unimaginable feat to her. Also, this was just her first time cultivating it. Thinking about it now, the ancient records of South Sky Arrow art of her clan were not exaggerating when they talked about its power. Fortunately, Darren allowed her to pass South Sky Arrow art to her clan members. Thinking about this, her heart was filled with gratefulness. She could see a great and open path in front of her and her clan. Sometimes she couldn't help but feel this was unreal. The poor and harsh life she previously had faced seemed to be just yesterday. No matter which reason it originated from, she could be grateful to Darren. She propped up her chin. Darren was so powerful, so strong, she could not be a burden on Darren. She definitely had to work on her cultivation. If she could help Darren in the future, then it would be even more perfect. Ooh, how could she help Darren? Her eyes lit up. Zwa Mo was furiously cultivating Yao arts. At the side, Ague looked on with a wooden expression. The light of the Yao arts reflected on her face, and added another thread of light to her eyes. Lil, fire curiously circled from the side. It would sometimes approach very close to the light on Zwamo's hands. Lil, Pagoda continuously nudged at Lil, fire. It was unmoved, and only looked curiously at the Yao arts on Zwamo's hands. Lil, Pagoda could only dejectedly fly back into Ague's arms and snuggle around. Yao arts. Last time in the Wasteland Beast chessboard, he had almost been tripped up by that group of Yao. Zwa Mo was greatly stimulated. Damn it. If the tiger didn't roar, they mistook it for a sick cat. Wasn't it just Yao arts? Zwa Mo resolved inside that he won't let go of those people when he went next time. Last time, if it wasn't for the Wasteland Beast that had helped him, he may have been thrown out immediately. There was nothing major about being thrown out, but it was a great loss of face. Xiao Emogu was a personage right now. How could face be lost? If he could not suppress this terrible conduct, how could it show Xiao Emoji's power? Yet he did not know just as he buried his hard and work on Yao arts, a major event happened. Chapter 378, Black Smoke. Yao's suggestion. Feng Xingzi had reconstructed the third prison to be renamed Windsong. This event created more noise than Zwa Mo reconstructing the Wasteland Beast chessboard. The first prison was just the ground of little Yao that just entered Yao art houses. If it wasn't that it had been a long time since the first prison's prison-breaking battle had been won, it wouldn't have been any news at all. But the third prison was completely different. The Yao that cultivated in the third press ion were usually in the later stages of spirit planting and the beginning stages of Yin spirit. The difficulty in reconstructing the third prison was several magnitudes greater than reconstructing the first prison. Feng Xinzi was a high-level supervisor of the Genius Alliance, and based on the accomplishments from this battle, he had successfully entered the Elder Council of the Genius Alliance. Those that had discussed Xiao Emoga versus the Genius Alliance were now collectively silent. The Genius Alliance used action to prove how laughable it was to compare Xiao Emogu and the Genius Alliance together. However, Zwa Mo did not feel that his troubles had lessened. This was due to the bounties from the large Yao markets. The bounty to kill him once in the 10-finger prison had grown from 5 million to 8 million. What made him even more speechless was that it did not limit the number of times. The enormous sum made Zwa Mo's eyes turn red. He turned to Nan Yu and said, "How about you all try to kill me and take the recording Yao art to get the bounty, then we can split it?" Nan Yu and Song Zhe's expressions were like they had swallowed a fly, and they did not know what to say. So much money! Zwa Mo's eyes were bright as he furiously rubbed his hands together. Nan Yu and Song Zhe stalwartly helped him destroy the enemies that came like moths to a flame. They were becoming familiar with their new Yao arts. Taking turns and attacking, they were swift and efficient. A short while later, the orange-haired Yao excitedly ran over with the Black Smoke Yao. "Brother, the Genius Alliance broke the third prison." The orange-haired Yao shouted loudly when he saw Zwa Mo, "We cannot submit. Brother, go break the third prison. Show the Genius Alliance your power." Nan Yu and Song Zhe's faces grew even darker. The Black Smoke Yao behind the orange-haired Yao couldn't help but have an awkward expression and show an apologetic expression to the two Yao. Zwa Mo was unconcerned. "Not going." "Why not?" The orange-haired Yao gaped, his face disbelieving. "There's no money." Zwa Mo rubbed his hands. "That is true." The orange-haired Yao stilled, thought and then nodded in agreement. "Brother, why don't you kill me and then we split the money?" Zwa Mo brought up the old topic and looked with desire at the orange-haired Yao. "This idea is good." The orange-haired Yao then said with some bashfulness, "But I am loyal Yao, how can I kill my brother?" "That's fine, just remember to give me a bigger portion." Zwa Mo waved his hand carelessly. Song Zhe finally could not resist. "Darren, there are many ways of making money, do not humiliate yourself so." Heavens! He could not think of it. If Darren really used this method to make money, everyone would collapse from laughter. Darren's face was thick enough and could dismiss all kinds of criticism, but he could not. Behind him was the entire Grey clan. Darren's idea made him shiver. Too scary. No, he had to stop Darren's insane idea. Seeing Zwamo's unaffected face, he almost cried. Darren, if you need money, I'll give it to you, all right? How much money do you have? Zwamo's face was full of disdain and caused him to choke. The black smoke male suddenly spoke. Actually, I have a method. Say it, say it. The orange-haired Yao was very excited. The black smoke male slowly spoke and caused everyone to become silent. Smokey, you are too devious. The orange-haired Yao exclaimed in shock, and then his expression became ecstatic. He turned and asked Zwamo, brother, is this idea great or what? Zwamo didn't think and nodded. Do it. The most recent news. Just after Feng Xnz reconstructed the third prison, Xiao Emogu has also made a move. Xiao Emogu has put down a stage in the Wasteland Beast chessboard prison. He has announced he will accept any challenge. The challenger only needs to pay a fee of 50,000 and can receive a preliminary qualification of challenge. Those that receive the preliminary qualification will need to go through a preliminary battle. Those that win can directly challenge Xiao Emogu. Those that pay 200,000 don't need to go through a preliminary round and can directly challenge Xiao Emogu. Ji Liyu's complexion was black, and she remained silent. On the side, Ji Cheng's expression was strange, but he closed his mouth tightly. He knew his sister was at the point of erupting. He didn't dare to make a sound at this time. He was full of respect towards Xiao Emogu right now. No matter how powerful this guy was, he definitely had a thick face and black heart to dare to do something like this. The most extreme of extremes. A personage among personages. He wanted to go and acquaint himself. However, when he saw old sis eyes that seemed to sprout fire, he forcibly suppressed this impulse. Very good. Ji Liyu's voice as it was forced through her teeth was like the cold wind in the deep of winter. But will he manage to survive? Ji Cheng shook. Old sis was angry. Congratulations, Elder Feng. Congratulations, Elder Feng. Another supervisor bowed to Feng Xnz, unable to disguise the envy on his face and a hint of fawning. Feng Xnz had become the newest elder of the Genius Alliance Elder Council. The status of the two were completely different. Congratulatory greetings came from the surroundings. Feng Xnz had a humble smile on his face. Thanks. He had come to bid farewell to everyone. After he reconstructed the third prison, the discussions about the Genius Alliance had abruptly stopped. All the major Yao channels had stopped their scorn and praised the power of the Genius Alliance. The enormous potential he displayed was very well favored by the higher levels. Even the leader of the Genius Alliance, Ming Yuyi, had on multiple occasions expressed her admiration. Feng Xnz patiently bid farewell with every supervisor and member before leaving. Darren, I heard that the main division has countless Yao arts, including sky and earth levels, is it true? Xiao Jin blinked her adorable eyes and was full of anticipation. She was Feng Xnz's follower, growing up with Feng Xnz like a sibling. Supposedly. Feng Xnz was looking into the distance. He turned and replied with a smile. That's wonderful. In the future, Darren will have sky-level Yao arts. Xiao Jin was extremely happy. Feng Xnz gave another slight smile but did not speak. Darren, there is a very fun matter. That Xiao Emogu actually put up a stage and is taking fees. How can there be such a greedy Yao in the world? Xiao Jin's round face was filled with shock. Feng Xnz saw Xiao Jin's adorable appearance and couldn't help but rub her head. Xiao Jin's face wrinkled and she said discontently, Darren, you messed up Xiao Jin's hair again. Huh? Feng Xnz laughed freely. Let's go. Darren, wait for me. Do you think we are going to get money? Nanyu asked Song Zhe uncertainly. I don't know. Song's mood was low and he almost seemed to cry. The Grey clan had been in decline for a long time and resorted to staying in an out-of-the-way place, but it was an ancient clan that had guarded the golden tree. When had they done such embarrassing things? He was the junior clan leader, and he was going to be clan leader in the future. But he did not display any temper at all. His objections in front of Darren's decisiveness was as weak as the breath of an ant. Darren had a decisive presence, his eyes filled with domination, a great hero. Songzae admired him inside, but that quality of greediness? Nanyu did not notice Songzae's low mood and was eager. I hadn't expected that black ghost with such an ordinary appearance to have such evil ideas. So black. But this idea is really good. I hope we can earn a lot this time. The Wisteria clan of the South Sky had declined far more than the Grey clan. After struggling at the lowest level of society for such a long time, they had long ago forgotten their past glory and the pride of a great clan. Such a taxing life had taught Nanyu the difficulty of survival and the importance of money. Due to this, she was in strong agreement with the Black Smoke Yao's idea. To be able to get money honestly, and to resolve trouble at the same time, the Black Smoke male's idea fits Wamo's intentions very well. Nanyu, pay attention to taking in the money. Only those that have paid have the qualifications. Mo was like an experienced battle general calmly directing, it would be best to hire a Yao for the accounts. Oh, the first round, Songzae is up first. I'm up first. The orange-haired Yao impatiently jumped out. He put his hands on his waist and laughed. Today is the day I become famous. You need to keep your eyes open and watch how I beat down all of them. Mo did not object. The orange-haired Yao's strange physique which could not be killed made him the best choice for the first round. However, since they were paying, he naturally had to provide the best service. The prison battlefield should be changed. Compared to other places, the intimate presence of the battlefield was greater. What reassured Mo the most was that barely discernible presence of the wasteland beast. The strength of the wasteland beast was branded into his heart. He had asked Pu Yao about the wasteland beast, but Pu Yao had been silent each time. Mo was used to Pu Yao's secretiveness. This guy had too many secrets. Okay, let all those secrets and old enigmas go to hell. What he loves is Jingshi. Mo was full of motivation. The prison battlefield was completely transformed. This place had become Mo's home territory. Compared to the peace outside, the prison battlefield was full of danger with each step. Lots of Yao arts in the style of Little Mogu were swimming about. If it touched anything the slightest bit, then the successive attacks were like debtors being chased by creditors. To guarantee that only Yao that had paid the fee could enter, Mo had used the prison battlefield to its limits. The densely packed Yao arts made even his scalp prickle. Mo even put down large amounts of illusory formations in the pathway that he left behind. This weren't the low-level things like ice blade illusory formations. This was a big illusory formation he had spent 4 hours to finish. The Yao arts inside the prison battlefield were obedient in his hands. He could merge them into the illusory formation as he wished. After the illusory formation was complete, he was well satisfied. If they planned on forcing their way in, wait to feel the pain. Mo's confidence in formations was much stronger than his confidence in his half-learned Yao arts. Mo's beautiful illusory formation shocked Nanyu and the other Yao. The admiration in their eyes was like a flood. Even the Black Smoke Yao that had a black face and a black heart was very astonished. In the Yao world, the path of formations was famed for its difficulty in comprehension. There were very few Yao that were skilled in formations. Xiao Mogu was skilled in formations. A thread of strangeness flashed across the eyes of the Black Smoke Yao. Chapter 379 Tide of Battle. Nanyu really found a Yao to come collect the money, her good friend Hong. Only things like souls could enter the 10-finger prison, money could not be taken in. But the method of transactions inside 10-finger prison had developed over the years, and everyone had naturally found a method. There were merchants that specialized in this kind of business. One only needed to go to these merchants to buy a type of soul that had a special soul imprint with money. In the 10-finger prison, these souls with special Yao art imprints were akin to money. Only wealthy merchants could be involved in this kind of business. The souls that were used as money were seed souls born from special Yao trees. The seed souls each merchant family used were different, and the spiritual imprint on the seed souls could effectively stop fraud. Some old businesses had a good reputation in this field. What Hong was hired to collect was this kind of seed soul. The little girl was a daring one. In the beginning, she had been scared to lose Mo's reputation, but she quickly became excited. When she saw the endless stream of people registering, she became even more excited. Song Zhe looked at the packed mass of registrants. His vision blackened and he almost fainted. When he saw the major Yao channels with their logos, his scalp prickled and his consciousness almost shattered. No, he hopelessly shouted in silence from the bottom of his heart. Looking over it all the Yao channels that he had heard of were present, and there were even many he had not heard of. There is a bit too many, the black smoke Yao said weakly. He swallowed. The amount of registrants far surpassed his expectations. A hint of regret formed. They had played it too big this time. The orange-haired Yao wasn't nervous at all. He was very motivated, laughing with his hands on his hips. Ha ha, this is fated to be the day that I become famous. I will quickly surpass you, brother. Feel the great pressure. Do not be nervous, I'm very loyal, but I won't let you off. Zhuo did not hear the orange-haired Yao's words at all. There was only a Jingshi ocean in his eyes, vast and rippling with an attractive light. Ooh, it was enchanting. By Zhuo's side, Nan Yu was slightly excited. She balled her fists and made a resolution. She had to make money for Darren. Who could have thought of it? Who could have thought of it? Just after Feng Xnz reconstructed the third prison, just as everyone is maintaining their silence due to their previous scorn of the Genius Alliance, Xiaomogu made a move no one expected. This matter has been deflected dramatically into a new direction. No matter how powerful the Genius Alliance is, Miss Ji Liu and Mr. Qinghua Zongshui have all tripped when facing Xiaomogu, and this blemish cannot be erased. At this time, people finally remember that the Genius Alliance has their eyes at the top of their heads did not get their face back from Xiaomogu. Of course, maybe Miss Ji Liu and Mr. Qinghua Zongshui cannot represent the Genius Alliance. If the two sides are facing off, then Xiaomogu's move this time is shockingly sharp. Wearing a deep blue mask was covered with silver flower patterns and filled with a strange presence. At this moment, the eyes behind the mask were filled with coldness. Murderous intent flashed across the eyes, sharp as a blade's edge, but that pair of amber eyes quickly became calm like a deep lake. Xiaomogu, a slow and light sigh sounded behind the mask like tendrils of smoke and did not dissipate for a long time. Her steps were slow, her upper body not moving at all as though she was sliding on ice. Her appearance was unspeakably elegant and ethereal. She glanced at the registration area that was tightly packed before turning to look at the completely transformed prison battlefield. A light sound came from behind the mask. There was a thread of surprise in her eyes. Formations. Xiaomogu was actually skilled in formations. She noted it down inside. After studying outside the prison battlefield for a few moments, she turned and walked towards the registration spot. Wherever she passed, the crowd seemed to be moved aside by an invisible hand and created a passageway. Some Yao with fiery tempers turned and prepared to swear. When they saw the dark blue mask, their expressions changed, and the words that had reached their mouths were swallowed back down. Anything that could be brought into the 10-finger prison were treasures. On this Yao's face was a soul mask. It was an extremely rare treasure. Those that possessed such a great treasure, if they were not rich, they were powerful. And when they saw the streaming figure of the masked female Yao, their hearts jumped. They recognized power. Just like this, the masked female Yao did not encounter any resistance and walked directly in front of Hong. You want to register? Hong also noticed this unusual female Yao and raised her head to ask. Yes. It was possible to hear from the voice coming from behind the mask that this was a female Yao. She threw out a seed soul. Hong took it and was slightly surprised. 200,000. You want to make a direct challenge? Is it not possible? The masked female Yao asked. Pausing, Hong nodded hurriedly. Possible, possible. Then she shouted towards the inside of the formation, Darren, there is a person who is challenging you directly. After shouting, she said to the female Yao, you can go in. Don't worry, the formation will not attack you. The masked female Yao walked steadily inside the prison battlefield. She did not seem to fear those strangely changing formations at all. Formations? Xiao Emogu actually knows formations? Su Wei turned his face with astonishment. This guy does have some skills. I remember you've always had an interest in formations. You didn't come to such a low-level place like the first prison just for this? And pulling me along as well. Bro, I'm very busy. Mingju Zi shook his head. I have only found out today that he knows formations. This guy is very strange. He said with deep meaning, he can control this prison. What? Su Wei's eyes widened suddenly. That's impossible. He knew what controlling a prison meant. Look at the prison battlefield. Mingju Zi pointed at the completely transformed prison battlefield. This place has completely changed. That doesn't mean anything. Su Wei did not believe it. His head shook like a rattle drum. He reconstructed this prison and naturally has the home advantage. This degree of transformation does not prove anything. Mingju Zi did not argue. You'll understand later. He thought back to the recording Yao arts that he had been studying in recent days. He had bought them for a high price from a little Yao called Jin Zhen. Jin Zhen had been involved in attacking Xiao Emogu that day, and the recording Yao art recorded everything he had encountered that day. The deep and cryptic Yao art problems on each pillar of the dazzling cage of light astonished him. He knew that Su Wei and the others didn't even have any attentions to look at a little Yao that was muddling through the first prison. Previously, Su Wei had mocked him for wasting time on such a little personage, but as he studied more, the shock and puzzlement in Mingju Zi's heart accumulated. There were too many places that he could not understand and think through. He had read through a large amount of information to find something similar to the high-level Yao arts that the two followers of Xiao Emogu had used that day. This discovery instantly attracted his attention, because these high-level Yao arts that were possibly a match were both lost a long time ago. He also researched the background of Xiao Emoji's two followers. What was worth celebrating was that while Xiao Emoji's origins were unknown, it was not hard to find the origins of the two followers. The male Yao was from the Gray clan, a clan that had declined. The female Yao came from the South Sky Wisteria clan, a Yao clan that was almost extinct. The intelligent Mingju Zi quickly found something worthy of deep thought. Both the Gray clan and the South Sky Arrow clan were Yao clans that could be traced back to 3,000 years ago. The reason that the high-level Yao arts of the two clans were lost were strangely the same. They were lost in the Great War 3,000 years ago. The formations in front of him looked like a Xiujia's seal formations. These unusual traces caused Xiao Emogu to become even more mysterious. But he did not tell any of this to Su Wei. There was too much speculations. He also believed that Xiao Emogu would shock Su Wei greatly. Su Wei was also wondering inside. Even though Mingju Zi did not focus on what he should be doing some of the time, but his intuition far surpassed normal Yao. Did this Xiao Emogu really have something strange about him? Just at this time, he saw a familiar figure walking towards the prison battlefield from the corner of his eyes. His expression instantly became strange. Yu Zizhou has come as well. Is this person going to go up? Mingju Zi saw that figure and stilled. Big sis, you really aren't going to send someone? Ji Cheng suppressed the impulse to laugh and asked Ji Liu seriously. Ji Liu lightly snorted. Such a small person, is he worthy of my attention? He besmirched our Ji family's reputation. How can we let him off? Ji Cheng pretended to be indignant as he said, Let him off. Ji Liu giggled. He will quickly get a taste of trouble. Ji Cheng hurriedly asked, Does sis have some insider information? You want to know? Ji Liu raised her eyelids. Want to know. Ji Cheng nodded rapidly. He was very curious. He had originally thought that old sis was going to send an expert to teach this guy a lesson. The Ji family did not lack for experts. Who would have expected that old sis had ordered the clansmen not to go make trouble for Xiao Emogu? If he hadn't seen old sis look as though she wanted to eat Xiao Emogu raw, he would have thought that old sis was interested in Xiao Emogu. I'm thirsty. Get me some heart-moistening fruits, Ji Liu casually said. I knew it. It's like this every time, Jiqing muttered. He obediently went to get the heart-moistening fruits and put them in front of old Sis. Ji Liu opened a heart-moistening fruit. The glistening and tender flesh of the fruit and her long and white fingers formed a beautiful picture. Yu Jizhou has pursued me for so many years. How can he let go of such a chance as this? Taking a small bite of the heart-moistening fruit, Ji Liu's expression was like a child eating candy in secret. Even though I do not like him, he is a good subordinate. Chapter 380. The blue flowers of Qinghua Shuezhua Mo was waiting for the first person to directly challenge him. Even though he did not know how much 200,000 in the Yao world was in terms of jingshi, but from the responses of Nan Yu and the others, he could see it wasn't a small sum. He really could not understand it. If it was him, would he spend such a considerable sum of jingshi to have a fight with someone else? Didn't they have anything else they could do? But there were so many registrants. For the bounty? Or for one mole? Zhua Mo was very surprised by the reach of one mole's influence. He thought back to the interaction that day. Other than using an illusory art the moment they met, he did not feel there was anything special about one mole. When Zhua Mo saw the challenger clearly, he paused and then asked Pu Yao, "Pu, how can there be masks in the 10-finger prison? What is strange about that?" Pu Yao was discontent at being interrupted while teaching the guard camp. He said impatiently, "Golden souls can be brought in, it's natural other things can also be brought in. Right, I'm very busy, don't bother me." Burning the bridge after crossing the river. Zhua Mo muttered inside. Before he got the golden soul, this guy's attitude was great. The moment he got it, he instantly made a 180-degree turn. Zhua Mo expressed deep disdain at Pu Yao's horrid conduct. His gaze landed on the blue mask of the other person, and felt this object was very useful. He hadn't come to the 10-finger prison to make money. He needed to think of a way to find information on the battle of sealed extinction. Thinking about his present situation, the joy in Zhua Mo's heart at making money faded greatly. Start. Zhua Mo focused. It was not fun to divide one's attention during a fight. Qinghua Shui carefully examined Xiao Mo Gu in front of her. The other's eyes were peaceful and was not arrogant like the Xiao Mo Gu of the rumors. She remained silent and threw this question to the back of her mind. Since she had already entered the battlefield, why think of all these details? She stepped forward, and the silent pupils suddenly lit up with a pressuring light. The female Yao that had been peaceful and serene like a lady was like a long sword that was unsheathed from its scabbard. The cold, icy presence was like an invisible wave that rushed towards Zhua Mo's heart wavered. His eyes became serious and he also stepped forward with his right foot. The presence around him also changed. It was like the wind that blew from the desert, carrying a heart-shaking viciousness that rushed up without fear. Pia pia pia. Countless sparks formed like popcorn between the two. The light in Qinghua Shui's eyes grew, so bright that one could not stare directly at it. Since she was very little, she had started to practice blue flower. This had become a routine of her life and she had never stopped. She didn't even know what level she had reached with her blue flower. Was it high or low? This was the first time she fought, and it was the first time she channeled blue flower without holding back. An unprecedented feeling flooded out of her body. The familiar power of blue flower seemed slightly strange to her. Under the stimulation of this domineering yet unfamiliar power, a strong yet unfamiliar feeling formed as though something was moving inside her heart. She had a strong sense she could do it. Under the stimulation of this emotion, she was filled with anticipation towards the upcoming battle. She felt like there was a monster hiding in her heart that revealed its great horns at this time. Anticipation, terror, and wonder all mixed together, causing her to be briefly dazed. When she refocused, she found a familiar light in her hand. Blue flower. When Zhua Mo saw that blue flower, his pupils suddenly shrunk. Damn it, a Yao from the blue flower family. He had almost tripped up on the blue flower that Qinghua Zhang Shui had released. If it wasn't that the orange-haired Yao could naturally suppress the blue flower, it was uncertain what the outcome would have been. Zhua Mo's figure suddenly retreated. Usual Yao arts were of no use against the blue flower. As he retreated, his eyes were tightly locked onto this blue flower. A strong feeling of danger formed. The hairs on his body stood up on end. This blue flower was even more beautiful and complete than the one Qinghua Zongshui had released, and even more dangerous. The mask-wearing female Yao was more powerful than Qinghua Zongshui. When Zuemo noticed a second blue flower forming on Qinghua Shui's hand, his eyelids couldn't help but jump. If he kept on retreating as the number of blue flowers increased, his situation would become increasingly dangerous. Thinking about this, Zuemo gritted his teeth. A gold light flashed at his feet and he suddenly charged forward. With such urgency, he did not hold anything back. The gold light flashed on his feet and his figure moved like lightning. To capture the group, capture the leader first. Experienced in combat, Zuemo instantly made a decision. Since the blue flower was hard to defeat, then he would directly attack the true body. Zuemo's figure disappeared from where he stood and appeared like a ghost in front of Qinghua Shui. The hard lightning covering his hand crackled and long arcing streaks of electricity danced as his fist chopped towards Qinghua Shui's head like an axe of lightning. The domineering presence of the hard lightning caused terror to form in Qinghua Shui's heart. But this bit of terror was washed away by the excitement that came after. She elegantly let go of the blue flower in her hand. The blue flower floated in front of her and suddenly gave a dazzling light. Zuemo felt as though his blow was stopped by a flexible yet soft invisible wall. The domineering and savage young fiend hard lightning was forcibly stopped. Zuemo knew the situation was not good and he quickly reacted. His open palm shifting to a crane strike and the rampaging young fiend hard lightning steamed out of Zuemo's fingertips. Boom! The blinding silver and blue lights exploded between the two people. The flooding power suddenly lost control and swept in all directions. The two figures were separated. The blue flower in front of Qinghua Shui had disappeared, and Zuemo looked to be in a sorry state with many dots of blue on his body. His hanging right arm was continuously trembling. He looked at the other. The young fiend hard lightning he had just used was the strongest he could create, but it still was unable to harm the other. In this short round, he was able to judge that the female Yao was much stronger than Qinghua Zongshui. The two were not on the same level. Such a powerful Yao art. However, he had not been defeated. Seeing another blue flower flying at him out of the corner of his eye, Zuemo's figure flashed and he disappeared from where he stood again. The blue flower was powerful, but it was not without its weak spots. Zuemo's mind was clear. He did not rest as he moved at high speeds, and released 12 young fiend hard lightning blows in succession. The 12 young fiend hard lightning charged at Qinghua Shui from all directions. It was a pity that he could not cultivate South Sky arrow art. The vine arrows that Nan Yu shot were faster than young fiend hard lightning. It was the first time Qinghua Shui had ever fought, but she displayed extraordinary talent at combat. In a moment she was surrounded, but Qinghua Shui did not panic at all. She took a deep breath and a clear shout came from under the mask, "Blue flower clothes." Before her shout was complete, tendrils of blue vines of light appeared on her body. The blue vines of light spread and wrapped around her legs, then her waist, and then her arms. In a blink, the blue vines covered her entire body like a blue flower closing its bud. Under the blows of the young fiend hard lightning, Qinghua Shui covered in the blue flower was like a weak flower in a storm, swaying and appeared ready to break at any moment. The 12 young fiend hard lightning smashed on Qinghua Shui's body like explosive raindrops. Hiss hiss hiss. It was like a net of lightning had been spread over Qinghua Shui, who was barely discernible inside the blue flower. Countless silver snakes moved about. The silver electricity lit up Qinghua Shui's amber eyes and they were full of the desire to fight. Qinghua Shui was untouched. The hard lightning arcing on her body quickly weakened and the vines of light tightly wrapped around her body brightened like they were being fed nutrients and water. The vines had actually absorbed the hard lightning completely. Zuemo inhaled sharply. His scalp prickled. Such a weird Yao art. The situation was becoming worse. The speed of the blue flower was not fast, but its defensive power was also unable to be defeated. There were no weaknesses. He could almost predict what was waiting for him. The other only needed to continue releasing blue flowers. That day, Qinghua Zhongshui had released dozens of blue flowers in one go. With the power of this mask-wearing female Yao, it probably was not difficult for her to release hundreds. If the number of blue flowers increased, the space that he could utilize to dodge would decrease. Then he would be in danger. Damn it. Zuomo's mind moved quickly as he thought furiously. What move would be effective? Did he have to use the archaic wasteland sacrificial art? Zuomo was confident in the power of the archaic wasteland sacrificial art, but in his mind, that was his ultimate move. If he used his ultimate move on the first challenger, what could he do for the rest? He could use the archaic wasteland sacrificial art on every one of them. The power of the archaic wasteland sacrificial art was powerful, but the expenditure was also astounding. If Zuomo used it once, he probably would have to leave the wasteland beast chessboard. Then there would be no challenge he could accept. Definitely unprofitable. An extra challenger was an extra sum of money. The longer he persisted, the more he would make. Zuomo knew this very well. His goal in coming to the Ten-Finger Prison was to find a clue to the battle of sealed extinction. But this required money, lots of money. He could not use the archaic wasteland sacrificial art. The gold light under his feet flashed. He continuously disappeared and then appeared as though he was teleporting and roamed around Qinghua Shui to search for an opportunity. As Zuomo expected, blossoms of blue flowers continuously formed and floated up from Qinghua Shui's upheld hands. She was still elegant and relaxed like a girl putting out flower lanterns at the river's edge. But when she raised her head, it was possible to see the burning battle desire occasionally from her amber eyes. The gold light flashed under his feet. He seemed to pass through the void, suddenly appearing and then disappearing. The gold light entered Zuomo's vision. Not knowing what to do, Zuomo's heart suddenly shifted. Since Golden Crow Feet was able to be used in the Wasteland Beast chessboard, then what about the other transformations? There were 6 transformations of the Great Day Mo physique. Other than the Golden Crow Feet, there were 5 more. Were they also able to be used? Zuomo's eyes suddenly burned. He had never used some of the transformations of the Great Day Mo physique. He finally had the chance to use the ultimate moves he had worked so long on. It was like a sword that had been sharpened for a long time. It was being unsheathed to drink the fresh blood of the enemy. In a moment, a strong desire for battle came from the deepest part of his body like a burning lava flow that spread throughout his entire body. Chapter 381. Walked out of the gravestone. The 6 transformations of the Great Day Mo physique: Light Void Wings, Golden Crow Feet, Day Script Palm, Flame Seal Armor, Midday Blade, and Great Day. Light Void Wings primarily enhanced speed and were as fast as lightning. The Golden Crow Feet enhanced strength and had the power of 30,000 caddies. When the two were used together, they lead to endless possibilities, and were the 2 moves that Zuomo was most familiar with. He had also practiced the other 4 moves but never used them in actual combat before. Zuomo's mind moved again. An even more outrageous thought came out. He used all 6 transformations simultaneously. What would it be like? When this thought came about, it securely took hold over Zuomo's thoughts and was unable to be forgotten. Why didn't he try? The gold light under his feet seemed to unwind like golden threads and quickly climbed up along his calves. Qinghua Shui had no other thoughts in her mind. Blue flowers rose in the 2 hands she held up. The blossoms flew into the sky. These blue flowers that floated in the sky did not blindly chase Zuomo, but were spaced apart. There seemed to be invisible lines connecting the blue flowers to one another, reproducing and communicating among themselves. When the golden threads reached Zuomo's waist, his legs were completely enveloped by the golden threads. They were especially thick on his feet. The golden threads continued to climb onto his upper body. Whoosh! A pair of transparent wings suddenly shot out of Zuomo's back. The dense golden threads continued to spread up Zuomo's chest, onto his neck, and then covered his face. In a flash, Zuomo was covered completely by the golden threads all over except for his eyes. The bright golden threads quickly dimmed, and a dark golden suit of armor covered Zuomo's body. The dark gold scales were the size of fingernails and were in layers like fish scales. When Zuemo made the slightest move, they would sparkle like a wave of water. The helmet was round and tightly followed the contours of Zuemo's face. There was a black horn protruding from the top of the helmet, and rings of patterns were inlaid on the horn. The horn curved slightly forward and came to a sharp point. The pauldrons were like two balls of burning flame. On his left arm was a small dark golden round shield. In bright red the image of a flame was inscribed on the round shield. His right hand held a strangely shaped blade. It was broad at the front and narrow at the back. There was no curve on the blade at all. It was as straight as a ruler. The entire blade was enveloped in the flame. The armor was made of small scales that tightly wrapped around Zuemo's legs, but from the outside, they appeared even thicker. From his feet 5 sharp claws extended outwards, similar to the sabaton like the claws of the fiendish soul panther. The 5 claws of the golden crow feet were like hooks that tightly gripped onto the ground. Zuemo curiously examined himself. In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao's expression shifted. He suddenly stopped commanding the guard camp. He carefully inspected Zuemo. His expression quickly changed, his bloody pupil expanding as he exclaimed in shock. Great Mo physique! Shu Long, who had been receiving Pu Yao's instruction, was confused. Darren, what is great Mo physique? Pu Yao ignored Shu Long, his bloody pupil tightly locked onto Zuemo. How is this possible? How is this possible? How can this boy use great Mo physique? He clearly is not a true-blooded Mo. He suddenly turned around his face, his gaze as sharp as a sword. He stared hard at the gravestone. It's you! A faint figure floated on top of the black gravestone. What surprised Pu Yao was this blurry figure gradually became distinct. Clean lines drew out a figure with feminine curves. Wearing a tight-fitting suit of battle armor, she held an extremely strange weapon, an enormous claw that was even taller than her body. The enormous claw was so lifelike it seemed alive. It was hard to imagine what being could have such a terrifying enormous claw. It seemed like the entire figure of the female warrior was under the enormous claw. Pu Yao seemed to see a ghost. He paled and was speechless. Little Pu, long time no see. A sweet, teasing voice filled with laziness suddenly came from the gravestone. Pu Yao's lips shook. You miss me this much? A seductive soft laugh came from the gravestone. The sweetness in the voice seemed to come from the bone. The simple figure drawn by the clean lines on the gravestone continued to come into focus. It was like an invisible pen that was drawing stroke by stroke. On the blank face, eyes appeared and then eyebrows. In a blink, an ambiguously smiling, beautiful face appeared on the gravestone. The eyes on this face suddenly blinked at Pu Yao. Pu Yao was stunned, he seemed to be petrified. Long legs reached out of the gravestone as their armor rattled. The figure that floated out of the gravestone like this. Complex patterns encircled eyes that were black like the deep of midnight, eyes filled with a wildness and seductive gaze. The bark-brown skin that was exposed were as glossy as the best silk. The sexy figure was unable to be hidden underneath the battle armor. She walked lightly in front of a statue like Pu Yao. Bending down, she wore a dazzling smile. Little Pu, Pia. Without any warning, her right hand grabbed onto Pu Yao's neck and pulled him up like holding up a little chick. Then, with a sudden tug, she jerked him in front of her. There was still an enchanting smile on her face, but something seemed to roil in her black eyes, and her tone became extremely hostile. Little Pu, your attitude right now is not very good. The stunned Pu Yao looked dazedly at this pair of eyes. Countless memories came like the tide. His eyes suddenly became moist. Sniveling again, so boring. Pia, the female warrior, relaxed her hand. The vicious expression on her face turned to nothing and she muttered as she walked to the side. After a moment, Pu Yao finally focused. He stammered out a question. Darren, you are still alive? You want me dead? The female warrior lazily replied. She threw the enormous claw onto the ground, laid on it, and yawned. She said indistinctly, Why am I so sleepy again? Pu Yao was unable to restrain himself from showing joy. His lips trembled. After a moment, for some unknown reason, his nose became stuffy and tears welled up in his eyes. He said, "Darren, they all died, everyone is dead." The female warrior's body froze. A long while later, she sighed lightly, "Yes, everyone is dead, we are the only ones left." The long sigh carried deep loneliness, grief and guilt. The fully armored Zwa-Mo felt as though he was a burning ball of fire. There seemed to be thousands of burning streams colliding, bursting and splashing inside his body. They released a destructive presence that made even Zwa-Mo's mind waver. This was the first time Zwa-Mo used all 6 transformations of the Great Day-Mo physique at the same time. What entered the 10-finger prison was only the consciousness. There was no fleshly body nor Ling power here, so how was he able to use the 6 transformations of the Great Day-Mo physique? Was it that his consciousness what was burning now? When this thought came about, Zwa-Mo felt an explosion inside his mind. Countless golden flames suddenly shot out of the armor and burned. Zwa-Mo turned to a person made up of fire. "What is happening?" Pu Yao gaped with wide eyes. He felt everything happening today was challenging the limits of his imagination. Everything was so fantastical and unbelievable. There was an astonishing change happening right now in Zwa-Mo's consciousness that he could not understand at all. His Great Day-Mo physique is about to advance. The female warrior had her laziness back and said unconcernedly, "How can he use the Great Day-Mo physique inside the 10-finger prison?" Pu Yao asked a question that had long been in his mind. "The Great Day-Mo physique has some substance," the female warrior casually said. "This boy has pretty good luck. You taught him to cultivate the consciousness and he accidentally found a correct path to practicing the Great Day-Mo physique." Pu Yao's expression suddenly became strange. What Great Day-Mo physique? Who wanted to cultivate that thing? After struggling inside, he gritted his teeth and opened, "Darren, I took him as my student." "Oh, that's your freedom, you don't have to report it," the female warrior waved her hand and said unconcernedly. Thinking about his teacher, Pu Yao forced himself to say, "Please, Darren, do not pass Mo's skills to him." "Little Pu, this is not good." The female warrior had a smiling face. Pu Yao's heart shook and he knew it was not good. However, he still decided to fight. "Darren, please respect the order of arrival." "Tsk, little Pu, weren't you the one that taught him the Great Day-Mo physique? Yao arts, so feminine, such a good little man, how can he be wasted by you?" The female warrior still had a smiling face. Pu Yao's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot, the tendons in his forehead jumping. "Little Pu, change to cultivating Mo skills too. I like men who are very masculine the most." The female warrior's eyes became intoxicated. Pu Yao finally could not suppress it. He jumped up and swore, "Damned woman, you dare call me feminine? Come on, let's have a good fight." The female warrior instantly had an excited expression. With one move, she raised the enormous claw that was multiple times larger than her body. Great, after sleeping for 3,000 years, it's been so suffocating. I want to fight." The two figures fought fiercely in Zwa-Mo's consciousness. "Stupid woman, don't think I'm afraid of you. You were only the commander because I let you." "Little Pu, my dear vice commander, you've never beat me. I was having mercy. In front of everyone, giving you face." "Little Pu, you still like to boast as you ever did. Looking at the fact you guarded older sister for 3,000 years, sister will let you attack 3 times first." "Guard you? My honored commander that thinks so highly about yourself. What I protected was the reputation of the Corps. If the corpse of the Corps commander landed in the hands of the enemy, it would be the shame of our Corps." "Little Pu, your mouth is still as sharp as before. Corps commander, you are still this shameless." Qinghua Shui looked in shock at Xiao Emogu, who was swallowed in flame. Her hand couldn't help but shake once. Was this a backlash from the Yao art? The invisible power released by the flame spread in ripples of heat. Her heart shook and her expression changed slightly. Inside the flame, the strange blade seemed to lift slightly. Chapter 382 Midday Blade Strike. The temperature of the prison battlefield suddenly rose. The blackness of the void became dark red. Invisible waves of heat came from all directions and twisted everything in view. Qinghua Shui felt as though she was wading through molten lava and was going to burn at any moment. The blue flower held in her hands was like a candle flickering in the wind, likely to be extinguished at any moment. Xiao Imogu was covered in flame. On the other side was like a twisting ball of flame she could not clearly see. What was most terrifying was that her consciousness was unable to find Xiao Imogu. Qinghua Shui was shocked and couldn't help but panic. The sky full of blue flowers showed signs of becoming uncontrolled. The connection between her and them became increasingly weak. Pia pia pia. The sounds that were so weak they were almost indiscernible landed in her ears but were akin to lightning on a clear day. 7 blue flowers cut off their connection to her consciousness. Her complexion suddenly became white. From the day she first cultivated blue flower, these beautiful blue flowers were like her closest friends, and were connected with her in her mind. She played with them, told them her innermost thoughts. She had never encountered any problems on the complex Yao arts recorded on Blue Flower, because her friends would help her. It was the first time that she had encountered the blue flowers cutting their connections to her. Why was it like this? Qinghua Shui had a bewildered expression. She did not know what to do about this sudden change. Amidst her bewildered eyes, that strange straight blade that was shrouded in the fiery flames sliced from top to bottom. This blow was unusually slow. So slow that Qinghua Shui could see it clearly. When the strange blade started to move downwards, the surrounding flames seemed to have been pushed by an invisible power and quickly left the blade. It broke into countless tiny flames that shot off towards the sides. Qinghua Shui seemed to have a feeling that this blade had sliced a ball of flame into a rain of fire. The entire space seemed to be ignited in this moment. The bright flames spread through the entire space like a snowstorm of the winter. It was so hot that waves of heat which could melt steel rose and lifted up a sky full of fiery rain. The sky suddenly became bright, wind and fire joining together. The power of the fiery rain expanded. The wind and fire twisted and engulfed the blue flowers. The strange and cryptic blue flowers disappeared in the air like bubbles popping. With the destruction of each blue flower, Qinghua Shui's face became a fraction paler. She wavered. When the last blue flower was destroyed, Qinghua Shui's face was as pale as paper. The light inside the amber eyes disappeared. Everything in her vision quickly became blurry. At this moment, a deep voice could be heard through the roaring of flame and wind. Midday Blade Strike. The Yao and the Mo that were fighting fiercely suddenly separated and stopped. They raised their heads at the same time to look at the void above their head. Pu Yao's expression was uncertain. The female warrior had a joyous expression. Pu Yao suddenly spoke. Your entire life was ruined by that suit of armor. Are you going to ruin him as well? The joy on the female warrior's face stilled and gradually dissipated. She seemed to think of something. Pain floated on her face. She held the enormous claw and stood woodenly. The expression on her face continued to change, sometimes joyful, sometimes painful. Pu Yao did not speak, and only looked silently at her. Hot. So hot. Zhou Mo felt as though his entire body was burning. His blood, flesh and bones were like dry timber that were being furiously swallowed by a crimson flame. His eyes were completely red, the color of red-hot steel. He did not know that a clear flame had appeared above his head. This clear flame was silent, but the outer flame had faint rainbow patterns. This flame quickly spread along Zhou Mo's body. The moment the flame appeared out of Zhou Mo's body, the wooden Gue suddenly raised her head, and a deep purple light lit up in the deepest part of the dull and unfocused eyes. Lil, Fire, who had been sleeping in her arms, seemed to smell something delicious and woke up from its dreams. I had originally thought Darren was dead. Pu Yao stared at the female warrior and slowly spoke. To swear my oath. To abide by my ceremony. An extremely scornful expression came onto Pu Yao's face. Something so inflexible and trite, it is a miracle that it managed to pass down. The female warrior stood silently. It was this thing. Pu Yao's voice suddenly became high and filled with fury. It ruined Darren's entire life. Ruined the entire core. Everyone was originally able to survive. The female warrior bit her lips, her black eyes filled with pain. Darren said right before death that she wanted me to guard it, so it will not land in the hands of Xiuzhe. Pu Yao's tone was low. I consented. I stood guard for 3,000 years. It did not land in the hands of Xiuzhe. I hated it, wanted to destroy it. I once thought the day that I managed to escape, I will throw this damned thing into the rivers of hell. The time in the Yao subduing tower was really arduous to get through. Pu Yao had a reminiscing expression. If I had not promised Darren, I would not have made it through. I could not destroy it, so I had to endure. Being punished by lightning daily was nothing. What is most terrifying is to have no one to talk to, so I started to talk to it. Later, I did not hate it anymore. It is an inflexible idiot. There is no meaning in hating an idiot. However, Darren, Pu Yao suddenly lifted his head and stared directly at the female warrior. Are you going to ruin Zuemo as well? The female warrior was silent. He is my student, Pu Yao said calmly. The black robe on his body seemed to flap in the wind, his black hair like countless snakes dancing. In the dark red bloody eye, the eerie red light slowly started to spin. His tone was as calm as usual. To follow Darren in the past, I did not complete my teacher's final wish. Darren, instead I fulfilled my promise to you. I cannot finish teacher's last wish, but I cannot let teacher's line of succession break in my hands. Zuemo is my student. Darren, if you are going to put this ball and chain on my student's body, please do so after stepping over my corpse. The cold voice landed in the sea of consciousness. Black flames came out of the ground and turned to curving snakes of fire that gathered from all directions below Pu Yao's feet. Mingju Zi suddenly raised his head, his pupils shrinking. He stared at the prison battlefield. Beside him, Su Wei's expression changed as well. Covered in the formation, the prison battlefield lit up with a dark red light. This patch of red light was massive and almost covered the entire prison battlefield. Mingju Zi and Su Wei exchanged a lot, and found shock in each other's eyes. Such powerful fire Yao arts. Su Wei was frazzled. Due to the formations outside the prison battlefield, the presence that leaked out was not strong. However, the pure fire contained in this thread of presence made every spectator change their expression. Fire Yao art, Mingju Zi murmured soullessly. His expression was very strange, his eyes shocked and puzzled. He paid far more attention to Xiao Emogu than Su Wei did, and knew much more information than Su Wei. The strange wasteland beast chessboard, the strange Yao art problems, the strange Yao art cages, adding on fire Yao arts now. How many Yao arts did Xiao Emogu really know? He was so young, how had he cultivated? Everything that Mingju Zi thought was common knowledge seemed to be completely upended by this mystery person. Who was he? Yu Zizhou raised his head to look at the sky filled with red light in the prison battlefield. His expression became serious. He had regretted being late and to not have been the first to challenge Xiao Emogu. Before today, Xiao Emogu was just a dancing clown in his eyes. If it was not for Miss Ji Liu, he definitely would not waste time on such a minor character. But such powerful Yao fire arts. He had just finished registering with Hong and was at the edge of the prison battlefield. The pure fire Yao art presence spilling out of the prison battlefield shocked him. Hong, send one in. A deep voice came from inside the prison battlefield. The speaker seemed to be suppressing something. All right, Darren. Hong seemed to wake up from a dream, turning to Yu Zizhou and saying, Mister, you may enter. Yu Zi focused his attention. He did not dare to slack off, his consciousness at full power as he stepped forward with a grave expression. The scenery in front of him changed. The surroundings were bright red as though he was submerged in molten metal. Invisible heat waves blew against him. His expression changed. Such strong fire Yao art. He had to channel his powers to withstand these terrifying heat waves. His expression became even more grave. As one of the Jade clan, he was not afraid of fire. However, he was forced to use his powers to just stay here up, so he recognized how powerful it was. Zuoremo stared with blood-red eyes at Yu Zizhou in front of him. His entire body was inside a golden flame. The pain of burning tore at his nerves. He could clearly feel the pure flame slowly permeating his consciousness. His consciousness seemed to shun these flames. Yet the golden flames were domineering and forcibly permeated his consciousness thread by thread. What was this thing? He gritted his teeth and bore the pain. The rich and tyrannical power occupied his entire body, and the pain was like thousands of ants chewing on his body, especially his palms and back. Zuoremo had to focus his attention on the enemy in front of him. This way, it seemed that the pain he felt would lessen. He gathered all the strength in his body, and the midday blade in his hand viciously struck at Yu Zizhou. Midday blade strike. The sky was full of wind and fire that howled as it shot at Yu Zizhou. Yu Zizhou's expression changed slightly. With a cold snort, his left leg shifted back slightly, his hands made a shape as they were holding a large ball, and drew a perfect circle with ease in front of his chest. If Su Wei and the others saw this scene, they would have exclaimed, "The ultimate defensive technique of Yu Zizhou, interconnected jade rings. An ultimate move right at the start." Without time to think, Yu Zizhou instinctively used the strongest defensive Yao art he could do. 1 created 2, 2 created 4. In a flash, rings of light covered Yu Zizhou. Pew pew pew. The storm of fire hit the rings of light, and both were destroyed. Rains of fire continuously landed on the rings of light, and rings of light were continuously destroyed. But the number of light rings did not lessen. Instead, they increased and became more numerous. Zuoremo felt there was an unstoppable flood inside his body that spread along his left hand and was going to burst from his left palm. He did not even think before slamming his palm towards the thick rings of light. Chapter 383, You Should Die. This palm struck the rings directly. The day script on the center of Zuomeo's palm suddenly lit up. A vast and scorching power burst forth from the center of his palm. This power was extremely strange. It did not blow away the rings of light. Instead, like a tiger reaching out with its head from the cage, it bit and held its prey. The sea of light rings were securely latched onto by Zuomeo's left palm. The day script continuously released golden yellow light that corroded the rings of light. A golden boundary rippled through the rings of light as it moved towards the center of the barrier. Yu Zizhou's expression changed greatly. He felt a tyrannical presence corroding his interconnected jade rings at an astounding speed. What was this? It was the first time he had encountered such a strange Yao art. This domineering power spread so quickly it almost exceeded Yu Zizhou's imagination. He had just managed to gather all of his consciousness, and his vision already turned to a golden yellow ocean. Yu Zizhou had never thought he would ever be pushed to such a sorry state one day. No, such a hopeless situation. This was only the second move the other had used. The second move, and it forced him to such a state. A dancing clown. He suddenly thought of this phrase. A feeling of humiliation like never before instantly rushed every inch of his nerves. How could a person as proud as him be defeated in 2 moves by a person he thought of as a dancing clown? How could he? Yu Zizhou glared. The elegance and relaxed face was now unusually twisted. Deep pride was mixed with unprecedented humiliation. He was like a gambler that had lost it all, and went all in with his life. All of his consciousness and his strength was channeled into his arms. He held his arms as though he was embracing the oncoming golden light and slowly pushed forward like he was pushing a mountain. His face trembled fiercely and showed signs of instability. Jade, gritting through his teeth, Yu Zizhou slowly spoke while visibly trembling. Every part of his body was trembling. The 2 curved arms he held in front of his chest slowly moved forward amidst this shuddering. Every fraction he pushed forward, the vibrations in the space around him increased by a fraction. Born. Just as the born was squeezed from his mouth, the golden light had spread to the last ring of light in front of Yu Zizhou. The golden light collided with Yu Zizhou's arms without any finesse. Yu Zizhou's body froze and his pupils suddenly expanded. Pia. Yu Zizhou's palms popped. Pia. The wrists exploded. Pia. The forearms exploded. Pia pia pia? After a string of noises like popcorn popping, the explosion spread along Yu Zizhou's arms to his body. Yu Zizhou's eyes were enormously wide. He looked in disbelief as his body exploded inch by inch. An unwilling wail suddenly was stopped. There was a dazzling golden ball of light that covered Zhumo's left palm that was like a sun. He maintained his striking pose motionlessly. All the flames over his body suddenly burrowed into his body. The red light faded from his crimson eyes and revealed golden yellow pupils. The golden yellow pupils were indifferent like that of a deity gazing down on ants, but the expression of pain on his face did not fade but increased. The indifferent gaze contrasted with the pained and twisted expression, forming an extremely strange image. The midday blade in his right hand was trembling. The golden ball of light on the left palm dissipated, and the sun script at the center of the palm faded. "Hong, let another one in." The hoarse and deep voice contained threads of insanity as it came out of the formation. "What little Poo-Poo has said is very wise." The female warrior suddenly raised her head and looked smilingly at Pu Yao. She nodded heavily and said, "This stupid armor really shouldn't be passed down anymore." The gravestone shook fiercely as though it was very discontent with the female warrior's words. The roiling black clouds looked as they were going to burst out. "Shut up." The female warrior's expression cooled. She raised the enormous claw in one hand and heavily smashed it down on the gravestone. With a clang, the earth shook. The shaking gravestone froze. From the point it was smashed, a web of cracks snaked out. Crack-whoosh, a pile of broken rock fell off the gravestone. The black clouds that had just came out of the gravestone seemed to be hit with a body paralysis curse, and froze in the air. Such a powerful blow. His presence almost at his peak, Pu Yao's eyelids jumped. Pia pia pia. The black flames that had burrowed under his feet suddenly exploded simultaneously, and he was covered by a burst of black smoke. Cough cough cough. Pu Yao's coughing passed out of the black smoke. When the black smoke dissipated, Pu Yao was singed and covered with ash. He looked with unfriendliness at the female warrior. The female warrior gave Pu Yao a flirtatious glance as though nothing had happened. She turned her face, and when she looked at the gravestone, her tone was cold. "Clean it up." The gravestone shook. Whoosh! The broken pieces that had broken off seemed to grow legs and climb into the place that had been smashed. Piece by piece, they went back to their original spot. In a blink, the gravestone seemed to be untouched again except for the web of cracks extending from the top of the gravestone. The power was just as terrifying as it had been in the past. Pu Yao glanced at the female warrior and sat down. There were too much to consider about everything that had happened today. Hadn't Darren died? How could she become alive again? Death could not be reversed. This had no connection to cultivation. Unless Darren did not die. If Darren had not died in the past, then there were too many possibilities in this. Golden Soul? That was very possible. So Darren hadn't died then. Wait a moment. Pu Yao's head was lowered. His bloody pupil unconsciously narrowed into icicles. Darren died in his arms. Even if it had been 3,000 years, he still remembered that scene clearly. He was familiar with Darren, her personality, her temper. He was familiar with everything. The Darren in front of him was so familiar as she was 3,000 years ago. But Darren had died. She had really died. There seemed to be a silent sigh in the cold pupil. The pain seemed to have been washed away by time, so faint there was almost no trace. But Pu Yao suddenly raised his head. "Darren is already dead." The female warrior furrowed her brow and was slightly discontent. Pu Yao seemed to not see it, and said to himself in a light voice, "Darren is dead, both her soul and body destroyed, there was nothing left." His right hand came out of its wide sleeve and spread its fingers, feeling the air rush past them. He looked directly at the female warrior and said calmly, "I know it, Darren died." The blood-red pupil was so cold there was not a shred of warmth. He raised his hand, and a black flame jumped in his hand. His black hair started to dance again, and the silk-like black clothing moved despite the lack of wind. The entire sea of consciousness seemed to slow down. Gradually, only one rhythm could be heard, only one sound. Dong dong, dong 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 dong. The female warrior's expression changed slightly. Her eyes locked onto the thread of black Yao fire on Pu Yao's hands. The strange rhythm in the space was the exact same as the rhythmic flickering flame on Pu Yao's hand. The golden soul really is a good thing. It seems you've recovered a fair bit. Pu Yao's expression was indifferent. The bottomless crimson pupils slowly revolved and a scornful smile that was as cold and sharp as a knife's edge suddenly jerked at the corner of his mouth. You also recovered your usual idiocy. The female warrior suddenly spoke. But the voice changed from the sweetness and flirtatiousness of just now and became as simple and wizened as an old person. How did you find out? Before the sound landed, the female warrior's body collapsed into fine black powder. The black dust danced and gathered in the air to turn into a ball of black smoke. Inside the black smoke, the figure of a male was discernible. You want me to tell you how idiotic you are? The scorn on Pu Yao's face grew. TC, 3,000 years, you finally showed your face. It really wasn't easy. Haven't you wanted to force me out all along? The male inside the black smoke glanced at the black fire on Pu Yao's hands. He said in a deep voice, I think we need to have a good discussion. Discussion? Pu Yao raised an eyebrow ambiguously. He took away the black fire in his hand and said unconcernedly. Fine to discuss. For you. Gravestone armor, called protection, you can call me Wei. The black smoke covering his body disappeared and revealed Wei's true appearance. He was wearing a body of black armor and seemed to have great bearing. His brow was straight and his eyes bright. He seemed full of righteousness. He was not as old as his voice seemed, and he bowed towards Pu Yao respectfully. Oh, not a bad name. Pu Yao narrowed his eye. Due to the previous owner, your heart is filled with hatred towards me. I am able to understand this, Wei slowly said. His voice was calm and neutral. It had a power that reached straight into the heart. What she protected seemed to be idiocy to you, but her resolve to protect was the source of her power. Pu Yao smirked coldly. Tiske, so high-sounding. Wei's gaze looked into the distance as he was reminiscing on something. His voice became distant. Every soul has something they are willing to give their life for. His gaze came back and looked at Pu Yao. Isn't it also the same for you? Pu Yao still had a cold smirk. Don't spout these little pretenses in front of me. All right, you say. Wei did not argue, nodding and saying without hesitation. I say. Pu Yao narrowed his eye that was like a bloody red blade. He said lightly, I say, you should die. Wei's expression changed greatly. His figure turned to rolls of black smoke and flew towards the gravestone. Black flames sprouted from under the gravestone and completely enveloped the gravestone. Wei hurriedly stopped his body. He seemed to be extremely wary of this kind of black flame. You should die. Pu Yao stalked towards Pu Yao, a jumping flame being held in the air above his hand. The beautiful and dark face was filled with murderousness, his voice so cold there was no thread of warmth. For pretending to be her, you should die. Pu, you cannot kill me. Wei stared at Pu Yao with a calm expression. I know. The murderousness on Pu Yao's face suddenly disappeared and he said with a strange and dark smile, however, after 3,000 years, how can I not have spent any of my thoughts on you? Wei's expression really changed this time. A dazzling light lit up on Pu Yao's hands and illuminated the entire sea of consciousness. Chapter 308. New tenants where Emo seemed to have an extremely long dream, a dream of red and gold. A world full of flame, dazzling, golden light filled the entire dream. But he could not remember what happened. Opening his eyes, Pia, a warm and soft bubble-like thing smashed into his embrace. Zuoremo lowered his head. He saw a golden yellow body frolicking in his arms. This was Lil Fire? Zuomo's expression instantly became slightly strange. He gripped the little golden guy and raised it up. Lil? The fire seemed to be recalling a certain painful memory. Its soft body suddenly froze. A moment later, it chirped weakly and looked at Zuomo. It really was Lil Fire. Zhuomo's gaze relaxed and then he became curious. How did this guy become like this? The body which had originally been red was now golden red, and his figure had shrunk a few fractions. How did you become this? Zhuomo asked curiously. Lil, Fire hurriedly chirped, but Zhuomo couldn't understand one sound at all. Zhuomo ignored it and squeezed around as he muttered, "Forgot where the spot is." The chirping suddenly stopped. Pew, a golden red flame shot out of Lil, Fire's body. Lil, Fire's expression was full of sorrow. "Ha, found it. Ooh, it's good that you are normal. Zhuomo relaxed his grip. When Lil, Fire left the demonic hands, it shot into Ague's embrace and chirped sorrowfully as it rolled in search of comfort. Ague was still just as usual. Zhuomo sighed inside. He didn't know when they would reach Cloud Sijia. He walked next to Ague and inspected Ague's body again. An uncontrollable expression of joy appeared on his face. The strange purple light seemed to have grown stronger. Even though he did not know what the purple light was, Zhuomo knew it was of great benefit to Ague. The first time he had encountered an unconscious Ague, he had discovered the attributes of this purple energy. The purple energy showed signs of growth. This was a good thing. Zhuomo's mood instantly became much lighter. Oh, what should he be doing right now? Zhuomo furrowed his brow. He felt slightly strange. How could he not have anything to do? Wait, that wasn't right. His gaze focused. He remembered the battle stage at Wasteland Beast chessboard. The memories were like a flood that burst through the dam. He thought of more and more matters. That was right. Wasteland Beast chessboard. Stage. But why couldn't he remember what happened? What had happened? His expression became grave. He knew that something had definitely happened, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not recall anything. After thinking for a few moments, he entered the sea of consciousness. Pu Yao definitely would know. Entering the sea of consciousness, Zhuomo couldn't help but make a sound of surprise. The sea of consciousness seemed to have changed. However, he was not in the mood to examine the sea of consciousness at this time. He sprinted directly in the direction of Pu Yao's location. Zhuomo stopped his feet and gaped as he looked at Pu Yao. There was another person standing beside Pu Yao. After gaping for a moment, Zhuomo suddenly became enraged. He shot forward a step, pointed at Pu Yao and started to scold. "You lazy glutton, Ji tolerated you even though you don't pay rent. Now you bring another person in? You really think of Ji's sea of consciousness as a free residence? Didn't even inform me. You really think this is your home?" Pu Yao, who had been full of pride, suddenly froze. What? Do you know whose territory this is? This is Ji's sea of consciousness. You're great. You don't even have one piece of Jingshi, and you have your nose pointing at the sky all day? Go found you an eyesore a long time ago. You really think you are a benefit to Ji? Now you even took a subordinate in? What he? Little Poo, you disappoint Ji greatly. Thinking back to the past at Wukong Mountain, even with that powerful formation from the paper crane woman, Ji's heart was like granite and did not waver at all. You meet just one male beauty, and you surrendered. Do you know why you are an old antique, but Ji is the little emoji that dominates the word? Let me tell you, there is a difference between people and Yao. Pu Yao was completely stunned by Zhuomo's barrage of scolding. After Zhuomo finished ranting, he felt extremely comfortable and very satisfied, especially when he saw Pu Yao's stupefaction. A feeling of victory rose. A cold snort coming out of his nose, he raised his face and glanced at the male beside Pu Yao. "Who are you?" "I am Wei, greetings to you." The other stood and bowed to Zhuomo. Wei's motions were relaxed and his expression serious. It caused people to feel his sincerity. However, Zhuomo did not fall for this. He crisply shook his head. "But, never heard of you." Not waiting for Wei to speak, he continued, "I don't care where you came from. But let's talk about the problem of rent." "Very rational. Please continue." Wei did not argue and cleanly nodded. "I like brisk people." Zhuomo smiled. "Very simple and to the point. You can use all kinds of valuable things as rent. Like spells, Yao arts, Jingshi, rare materials, they all work." Wei said, I have a set of Diana Xiao Attainment Golden Body. Is this acceptable? Attainment Golden Body? Diana Xiao? Zuemo thought and then said, Don't use trash to fool me. You can test it out first. Wei handed over a ball of light with a calm expression. Zuemo showed a satisfied expression. This guy really knew how to get with the program. Taking in the ball of light, a set of spells flowed like water across his mind. After musing over it, he couldn't help but show an abnormal expression. A 6th grade spell. What was the origin of this guy? A 6th grade spell just to start? Zuemo refocused and raised his eyebrows. Oh, not bad. This can be your yearly rent. He then twisted his mouth at Pu Yao. Pu, learn from this, look how proactive this person is. Your praise is Wei's honor. Wei bowed towards Zuemo. Zuemo did not even look at Pu Yao's pot-black face and left with bravado. Pu Yao's expression was unfriendly. The shadowed bloody pupil stared with coldness at Wei. Wei calmly met Pu Yao's gaze. As per our agreement, I did not pass him Amo's skill. Remember your situation. Do not try to infuriate me. Pu Yao's bloody pupil narrowed as he coldly spoke. I've sealed your wretched steel. I cannot destroy it, he, but if you anger me, you can think of the consequences. You do not need to threaten me. Wei was not afraid. I've never betrayed my oath. Tsk, so honorable. So honorable that you had to pretend to be Darren? The oath is will. Actions that do not betray the will are weapons. There is no right or wrong. Excuses. My will. Zuemo's mood was even better now that he received a 6th grade spell. He had guessed Wei's identity at the start because he noticed the light of the seal on the gravestone. Even though Pu Yao was usually very arrogant, he could not casually bring other souls into Zuemo's sea of consciousness. In the past, even Pu Yao had caused a great disturbance when he had entered the sea of consciousness. How could another person arrive in the sea of consciousness without Zuemo detecting it? Even more, he noticed that Pu Yao's attitude towards Wei was unfriendly, but there were no further actions. Thinking about the ancient voice back when Pu Yao had entered his sea of consciousness, the answer was obvious. He had originally planned on squeezing out a small sum, but Wei's offering was much more than he had imagined. A 6th grade spell to start with, this was very profitable. Zuemo was filled with smugness. Even though Attainment Golden Body was a Diana Xiao spell, but it still held great value as a reference for him. Also, he had a Diana Xiao subordinate. Wasn't Zhongru just lacking a good Diana Xiao spell? Zhongru was from an unorthodox background, but he was still able to form an Abnhina. If this 6th grade Diana Xiao spell was added, he could definitely go up another level. In a good mood, Zuemo did not forget what was most urgent at this moment. There wasn't enough time to carefully inspect the good thing in his hand. He hurried towards the wasteland beast chessboard. What had happened with the stage in the prison battlefield? He was very curious and bewildered. What had happened? Why could he not remember anything at all? He had been too worked up just now and forgotten to ask Pu Yao. However, since he was going to the wasteland beast chessboard, it would be the same if he asked Nen Yu and Song Zhe. They would definitely know. When Zuemo came to the prison battlefield, he couldn't help but pause. The prison battlefield was extremely unpopulated with only a few figures about. Even though he did not remember what happened, but he clearly remembered the crowds of Yao that had surrounded the prison battlefield that day. His heart suddenly jumped. Had he gone out of business? When the figures that were wandering around the prison battlefield saw Zuemo, all of their expressions changed. They looked as though they were seeing a ghost. Their gazes were filled with terror and fear. Zuemo was puzzled. What was with this group of people? Did he have something frightening on his body? It shouldn't be so. He remembered that these people in the past had looked at him as though they were drooling dogs seeing meat buns. Why was it that now they looked as though they were mice that had seen a cat? Was it something had happened that day? The bewilderment inside grew. He wanted to call a Yao and ask for clarification. But when this Yao saw Zuemo reach out, his face suddenly paled, his gaze unfocused, and he disappeared in a flash of white light. This. Zuemo was stunned where he stood. He had never thought there would be a day that he could frighten a Yao straight out of the 10-finger prison. A moment later, he refocused. Moving his feet, he walked into the prison battlefield. The formations on the outside had not changed compared to the past day. It was only when he went into the stage area that he saw Tsang Zhe. In the enormous stage age, Tsang Zhe sat alone. "Darren!" Tsang Zhe saw Zuemo and joyfully ran over. "Oh," he made a sound in response. He then looked at the surroundings and asked with a frown, "What happened here? Where's Nanyu?" "Nanyu went to cultivate. We've been taking turns waiting for Darren." Tsang Zhe saw Zuemo's expression was unfriendly and hurriedly said, This place. At this moment, he could not find the words to describe and was stuck. "We lost?" Zuemo asked. Tsang Zhe swallowed and shook his head. "No." "Then why haven't people come?" Zuemo asked curiously. "Darren, you do not remember?" Tsang Zhe carefully asked. "Don't remember." Zuemo shook his head. "I was just going to ask you what happened that day." The sound of Tsang Zhe swallowing became louder. His gaze was full of respect, and his expression even had threads of terror. That day, Darren successively killed 26 Yao. As a result, all the Yao that registered ran away in fear. Thinking about the scene that day, Tsang Zhe's body uncontrollably shook. Successively killed 26 Yao, Zuemo was stunned. Chapter 385, The Fame of a Brute, Yes, Darren. Tsang Zhe's respectful voice carried great passion. Before, when Zuemo had decided to set up the battle stage, he had felt it was absurd. But now, in his mind, Darren was like a deity, undefeated and with immeasurable power. He had a feeling that Darren, even being so young, would definitely leave his name in the annals of Yao history. This feeling was so strong that he had even spoke of it to the clan elders in the hopes that they could provide more aid to Darren. In the beginning, the clan elders did not believe him, but after the Yao art recordings started appearing, they subdued the doubts of the elders. These Yao art recordings were made by those that had challenged Xiao Emogu and had recorded the entire process of their battles with Xiao Emogu. 26 challengers, and there were 9 Yao art recordings that had been publicized. Of the 26 challengers, the most famous was Yu Zizhou. The most accomplished genius of the Jade clan's new generation, he once had the chance to enter the Elders' Council of the Genius Alliance. However, in order to concentrate on cultivation, he had refused Ming Yu Ye's invitation. The Jade clan was not a large one, but it had a long history that stretched back into the prehistoric era. When Yu Zizhou appeared on the Wasteland Beast chessboard prison battlefield, everyone had thought that the battle had lost meaning. No Yao in the Yao world did not know that Yu Zizhou was pursuing Ji Liyu. He was also publicly recognized as the one most likely to receive Ji Liyu's favor. But no one had thought that Xiao Emogu was so powerful he defeated Yu Zizhou in an instant. What happened after that seemed to challenge the limits of the spectators' imaginations. Xiao Emogu was like a terrifying monster that did not know exhaustion. Any enemy standing in front of him would be crushed in an instant. One person, then another and another. Other than the first mysterious challenger, no challenger was able to resist for 5 breaths, not even Yu Zizhou. Among them were genius youths like Yu Zizhou, those that were experienced in death, and there were even 2 combat Yao from the military. There were also 5 supervisors from the Genius Alliance. Such a grand lineup, it was possible to make a powerful offensive Yao troop at the front lines. However, in front of Xiao Emogu, they were cut up and diced like vegetables. In the 3rd prison and above, there was a rumor that was going around. All the Yao that failed in their challenge, including Yu Zizhou, had serious consciousness wounds and they had to seek healing. There were a few that had even more terrible situations. Other than wounds, this battle had left a great shadow in their hearts. It was possible that they would not progress anymore in their life. Xiao Emogu became famed after this battle. His fame as a brute was unparalleled at this time. "Have you found what Yao art this is?" Su Wei crowded over and asked curiously. Ming Ju Zi shook his head. "No." His gaze once again landed on Xiao Emogu inside the Yao recording art, And he was extremely puzzled. The body was covered in flame, the golden yellow light, the full suit of armor, a shield on the left and a blade on the right, the transparent golden wings, the golden claws. This extremely strange attire was recorded in all 9 Yao recording arts. What caused the greatest fear were those golden eyes made of crimson flame. They were so cold, like there was no emotion. This indifference was the antithesis to his savageness and bloodthirstiness in combat. He was like a wild beast that only knew how to kill. All of the enemies were like weak prey and were torn into pieces under his sharp claws. Even you were not able to find anything? Su Wei really was surprised this time. Ming Juzi's power was not enough to bring him fame, but in terms of breadth of knowledge, few could trump over him. He was familiar with all kinds of secret histories and information that were not widely known. He even was well studied in the Yao history before the 1,000-Year War. Ming Juzi did not move his gaze away. He stared at the Yao art recording. A moment later, he spoke, "I have a feeling this may not be a Yao art." "Not a Yao art?" Su Wei paused. He then shook his head like a rattle drum. "Impossible? If it is not a Yao art, what is it?" Ming Juzi was silent for a moment. "It looks a bit like a Mo skill." "Mo skill?" Su Wei's gaze instantly became strange. "Brother, you have a fever. Mo skill? Mo skill appearing in the 10-finger prison? Other than Yao arts, there is nothing else that can appear in the 10-finger prison." "I don't know either." Ming Juzi spread his hands. "But I really feel it does not look like a Yao art." Su Wei said in a deep voice, "Don't be impatient. We can slowly search. There is definitely someone who will recognize it." "We can only do this." Ming Juzi could only nod. He suddenly thought of something and said seriously, "Don't involve yourself in this mess. This Xiao Mogu is very savage." No. Su Wei said without hesitation. "I don't want to find death. This guy can be seen to be one that treats Yao lives like grass. In his hands, if it is not death, it is serious injury. A bloodthirsty murderer. This guy really is a bloodthirsty murderer. Look at the 2 people from the military, didn't they end up killed with a stroke?" The 2 Yao did not have good expressions. They watched the 9 Yao art recordings. That brute that was like a demonic god was deeply imprinted in their minds. How can the great day Mo physique appear in the 10-finger prison? Pu Yao stared at Wei and asked. This was a question that had lingered in his mind. Wei sat with his legs crossed, arms against his legs, his hands dangling off his knees. His gaze was like the sea. The great day Mo physique is an extremely rare Mo physique. Only a few know its origins. Origins? Pu Yao raised his eyelid. I have never heard that Mo physiques had origins. Wei smiled and did not refute. He only said, in prehistoric times, there were no divisions between Xiuzhe, Yao, and Mo. The cultivation at that time was not as complex as it was now. Actually, the cultivators of that time cultivated everything. The cultivation method of that time was very heterogeneous, varied. Mo physiques existed very early on, but not many would know that the creator of the Mo physique cultivation method, according to today's categories, was more like Yao. You say that Mo physiques are actually created by a Yao? Pu Yao seemed to have heard the best joke. Yes. Wei did not argue and said, when he found at that time the technique he was cultivating was unsupportable without a powerful body, he had to spend large amounts of time on body cultivation. He scorned the mainstream body cultivation methods of that time for being too slow, so he created the Mo physique cultivation method. Pu Yao did not speak. He realized this fake gentleman was not speaking nonsense. The Mo physique cultivation method was really efficient, but the process of cultivation was truly dangerous. Pu Yao had great breadth of knowledge. He knew very well that there were all kinds of divisions in history. It looked as though it was due to chance, but under the surface, one would find that there were all kinds of inevitable occurrences. There were historical requirements to the developments. At the time, he was not the only one developing a Mo physique cultivation method, but his results were the most obvious. The Great Day Mo physique was his greatest work. The Mo physiques did not have such great variety as they do now, And the Great Day Mo physique was the peak of all Mo physiques at that time. What this elder was most skilled in was still Yao arts, so in developing the cultivation method of the Great Day Mo physique, he drew inspiration from Yao arts. The Great Day Mo physique is the Mo physique that most closely resembles Yao arts. In today's terms, the Great Day Mo physique emphasizes the use of spiritual power. Wei continued on, his presence forming naturally. Pu Yao did not answer. He pondered with his head down and then said with realization, "So that's why." He was a genius to start with, a weirdo with the name of the Encyclopedia of Yao Arts. After continuous battle, the number of spells and Mo skills that he had won and collected could not be counted. He was very knowledgeable. There were parts he did not understand before, but now that Wei spoke a bit about it, it was enough for him to clearly see the crux of the matter. The guy that thought of this method is really a genius. Pu Yao praised. He seemed to have a new idea and said to himself, maybe this can be tried out? Wei's expression was calm, but a shiver flashed through his mind. Being enemies with Pu Yao, he directly felt the immeasurable nature of this guy. Pu Yao's mind was sharp, sensitive, reacted extremely quickly, vicious and decisive, especially the insanity that came from his bones, that insanity that would destroy everything to reach his goal. Such a terrifying enemy. A wave rippled in Wei's heart, but he quickly resumed calmness. He looked openly at Pu Yao without any trembling in his gaze. The two had their own thoughts and it became silent. Zhou Mo dazedly looked at Song Zhe and gaped for a long moment. Successively killed 26 Yao? He was joking. How could he be so ferocious? He was clear how much he was worth. Even though he didn't know names of the people that fell under his blade, but military combat Yao, high-level supervisors of the Genius Alliance, and guys that could enter the Elder Council of the Genius Alliance. Hearing Song Zhe heatedly narrate his results with awe, Zhou Mo felt like he was being told a story. What Yao World joke? That was the words that were echoing inside his mind the most, but when he saw Song Zhe's face, which was so excited his lips were trembling, he felt that it was not pretense. Had he really done it? Zhou Mo was full of suspicion and it was like he was listening to a fairy tale. Okay, maybe it really was he that did it? Zhou Mo said to himself. Oh, let's focus on something more practical. He raised his head and asked, how much did we make? Song Zhe, that had been going on heatedly, suddenly choked. His expression froze. In an instant, the giant figure of Darren in his mind wavered. He seemed to feel his breath was being choked at his throat. Seeing Song Zhe's expression, Zhou Mo instantly panicked. Did we lose money? Song Zhe almost collapsed. But in the legends, shouldn't those great heroes treat gold like dirt? The great battle god statue in Song Zhe's mind collapsed. Darren, we earned 30 million. Song Zhe felt like he was a server reporting to the manager of the store. This much? Zhou Mo's eyes suddenly widened and lit up. All the suspicions in his heart instantly dissipated in front of true income. How could the number of Yao he defeated be as tangible as how much he made? Zhou Mo wanted to roar with laughter. Chapter 386, Song Lin. Darren, this is my cousin, Song Lin. He has been to the third prison before. If Darren has any questions, you can ask him, Song Zhe said respectfully. There was a male Yao standing next to him with features similar to Song Zhe, but he looked slightly worn down. Song Lin also followed with a bow to Zhou Mo. His eyes were filled with respect and awe. In the last few days, the brutish reputation of this mysterious Darren had spread everywhere. Zhou Mo looked at him and then suddenly made a sound of surprise. You were wounded? Yes, Darren, Song Lin said in a hoarse voice. His voice was drier than Song Zhe and his gaze dim. In the past, he had been the most talented of the younger generation of the sect. Young, and he was able to enter the third prison. He got into a conflict with someone else in the third prison once and was wounded in combat that resulted long-lasting damage to his consciousness. He had not expected the other's imprint to be extremely malicious. The elders of the sect tried all they could but had no solutions. Song Zhe had called him over this time because Zhou Mo had asked about the Yao market bounties. Of the younger generation of the clan, only Tsang Lin had gone to the third prison. Let's heal you first and then talk. Zhou Mo beckoned with his hand at Tsang Lin. Come over. Tsang Lin stilled. Tsang Zhe reacted first, and said in a joyful and trembling voice, Darren, can you heal this kind of wound? He could not be blamed for his loss of composure. The glory of the Grey clan had long faded, and the Grey clan was continuously declining. The greatest problem the Grey clan faced was that they had no able successors. Tsang Lin had once been the hope of the Grey clan. In order to heal his wound, the clan had spent great sums. Tsang Zhe was the youth with the greatest talent next to Tsang Lin, but if it was not for the Grey Scar art, it probably would take him far more time to pass the first prison. If Tsang Lin's wound could be healed, that meant the Grey clan would have an able assistance. So when Tsang Zhe heard that Zhou Mo was able to heal Tsang Lin's wounds, his state could be described as overjoyed. Tsang Lin was completely stunned, his mind blank. He dumbly walked in front of Zhou Mo relax. Just like normal, Zhou Mo's spiritual power was like nimble tentacles that connected to Tsang Lin's consciousness. The scenery in front of him changed. He seemed to be situated in a patch of gray and blue mist that moved relentlessly. It was possible to see dozens of mist streams that slowly flowed along specific paths. Zhou Mo was shocked. The scene in front of him was so clear it was slightly outrageous. His consciousness had improved again. Other than joy, Zhou Mo felt slightly puzzled. The improvement of his consciousness seemed too fast recently. It seemed to improve at a rate visible to the naked eye. He started to worry. Would this rate of increase have any problems? He needed to find a time to ask Pu Yao. Suppressing the worry and shock inside, Zhou Mo started to seriously inspect Tsang Lin's consciousness. He quickly found the cause of the problem. These blue streams were flowing slowly, too slowly. He closed his eyes, and the scenery inside the blue mist continuously appeared in front of him. The slender flows were like rivers and streams. Some were thick, and others extremely thin. They crisscrossed and did not interfere in certain places. Zhou Mo seemed to understand. These slender flows were like the ling channels inside people's bodies and supported all of the consciousness. At a place where the blue slender flows intersected was a blood-colored vine covered in thorns. This was it. Zhou Mo narrowed his eyes. He was not skilled in healing and only understood a bit after repeatedly inspecting a Gui's body. Vitality, this intangible and ethereal substance, was something he could measure. From the beginning using the little art of cloud and rain, to inspecting a Gui's body, he had gained a direct impression. In the prison-breaking battle of vast water-clear skies, facing the vast water breath filled with vitality, he had a new understanding of vitality. Seeing Tsang Lin today, he detected that Tsang Lin's vitality was not flowing smoothly, so he had asked. He examined it for a while longer and confirmed that the red thorny vine was the culprit that disrupted the flow of the blue streams. He did not hesitate and started to deconstruct it. In his eyes, the thorny vine was completely made from Yao arts. When he touched the red thorny vine, Zhou Mo couldn't help but shiver. An excited expression quickly came over. The construction of the red thorny vine was a new structure he had never seen before. It was also more complex than the Yao arts which appeared in the Wasteland Beast chessboard. From when they entered vast water-clear skies, Pu Yao had continuously emphasized deconstruction to Zhou Mo. How many Yao arts had Zhou Mo deconstructed up until now? He himself could not remember it, but deconstructing Yao arts almost had become a kind of instinct. When he saw a completely novel and complex Yao art, he had a twinge of excitement like a gourmand that saw delicious food. Without hesitating, Zhou Mo started to deconstruct it. Zhou Mo quickly encountered a blockage, but this did not discourage him. It was the opposite, and his fighting spirit was stimulated. He was like a battle-seeking warrior who encountered an opponent of similar skill. It had been so long since he had encountered such a powerful Yao art. Zhou Mo was excited. This really was a complex Yao art problem. Zhou Mo's mind revolved quickly. His focus narrowed. The lights of all kinds of little Yao arts continuously flashed on his hands. He was truly familiar with the set of little Yao arts now and could confidently use them without any struggle. It was natural, like eating and drinking. When an idea formed in his mind, the little Yao art on his hand would have formed as well. Song Lin's expression continuously changed, sometimes pained and sometimes relaxed. Song Zhe did not dare to relax and silently informed the elders of the clan. To the Gray clan, this was really an important matter. A moment later, 6 wizened-looking Gray clan elders appeared next to Song Zhe. "How is the situation?" the chief elder asked in a deep voice. His gaze landed on Song Lin and did not shift away. From the lights that were flashing on Song Lin's body, it was clear the other was undergoing healing. "It's been going for 2 hours, Song Zhe hurriedly replied. The elders instantly had serious expression. They had all tried to heal Song Lin before, but in the end, they were ineffective. The Yao art imprint inside Song Lin was not strong, but was extremely hardy. No matter which method they used, they could not destroy it. Without needing to ask, the elders encircled Zue Mo and Song Lin and shielded in the middle, preventing others from disturbing them and affecting the healing. Looking at Song Lin's pale and weary face, Chief Elder's heart couldn't help but hurt. He and the other elders worked to support the Gray clan, but they were already in the last stages of their life. But watching as they aged day by day, and there was no successor from the descendants of the clan, the urgency they felt could be imagined. The Gray clan had declined, but they possessed the Golden Tree, so they had barely managed to survive until now. The reason the Gray clan could protect the Golden Tree was that the elders were strong. Each of them was not individually strong, but they were united. Others did not dare to easily provoke them. But if they were no longer there, the Golden Tree would end up being fatal to the Gray clan. The appearance of the Gray Scar art undoubtedly filled the elders with hope of the future again. If Song Lin could recover, then their last worry would disappear. With Song Lin's talent, his cultivation would definitely skyrocket if he cultivated Gray Scar art. The lights on Song Lin's body suddenly flashed rapidly. This change caused the expressions of the elders to deepen. They knew this was the most crucial moment. Pia! An abnormally crisp sound suddenly came out of Song Lin's body. Chief Elder stilled and then his eyes lit up. He could not control himself from showing an overjoyed expression. The other elders quickly reacted, all of them with joy on their face. Song Lin opened his eyes. There was another light in that pair of dim eyes. Zuermo did not move. He was like a statue of wood. Seeing the situation, the other elders did not dare to slack off. They persisted in shielding Zuemo. A long while later, Zuemo slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a long breath. Such a strange Yao art. Seeing Zuemo open his eyes, Song Lin forcibly suppressed the excitement inside and made a deep bow towards Zuemo. Song Lin cannot repay Darren's great boon of rebirth. But whatever Darren orders, Song Lin will do his best to accomplish. The chief elder just wanted to stop him, and hadn't expected that he would be too late. He couldn't help but sigh inside. As expected of a young person. With these words, it was akin to putting the future of the Gray clan into the hands of Xiao Emogu. Of the young people of the clan, the most promising successor to the position of clan leader were Song Zhe and Song Lin. But he could see the attitudes of these two towards Xiao Emogu. But Chief Elder altered his way of thinking. This was not a terrible thing. If the Gray clan had the aid of such a powerful expert in the future, at least, they did not have to worry about others targeting the Golden Tree. Thinking about this, he stepped forward and bowed to Zuemo. This old man is the chief elder of the Gray clan. Greetings to the honored Xiao Emogu. The boon that Sir has given us is something all of the Gray clan is grateful for. This is just a small token. Sire, please accept it. The other elders saw the 2 golden souls in the chief elder's hand and could not stop their disbelieving expression. The production of golden souls was very low. Last time to exchange for the Gray Scar art, they had paid 10 golden souls. What was left in the clan could be counted on the fingers. They had not expected the chief elder to give out 2 golden souls in their first meeting. However, they all know that the chief elder usually had deep insight and carefully considered his actions. They were puzzled, but no one spoke in opposition. They simultaneously bowed towards Zuemo. Please accept it. Zhuemo was not courteous and took the golden souls. He said that he wanted to ponder what he had learned today. The elders were all very intelligent and hurriedly bid farewell. A cold light flashed past Zhuemo's eyes. He sat down cross-legged on the ground to recover his spiritual power. Moments later, a figure appeared in the distance. Zhuemo detected it. He opened his eyes and stood up. Just now, when he had succeeded in deconstructing the Yao art imprint inside Song Lin's body, at the moment the blood-colored thorny vine turned to dust, he received a challenge. The Yao that had left the Yao art imprint in Song Lin had challenged him. This was a letter delivered in an arrogant tone and filled with unconcealed threats. The other had detected that Zhuemo was deconstructing his Yao art imprint. He could not bear it and wanted to see who was stronger with Zhuemo. If this was a usual time, Zhuemo would definitely ignore the challenge, but today he had a different idea. This kind of complex and weird Yao art had many unique places. Zhuemo might have deconstructed the Yao art imprint on Song Lin, but there were still many places he did not understand. The other's challenge was like a fat sheep that was being delivered to his mouth. A starving Zhuemo unhesitatingly accepted it. The blood-colored thorny vines Yao art was very interesting. Zhuemo was thoughtful. Chapter 387, Mo Ru Hua. The desolate flat slope was an extremely barren place. Weeds were growing everywhere and withered, gravely earth covered the land. No faction had any interest in such a poor and barren place. However, the South Sky Wisteria clan lived here. Just like the many times before, Nan Yu's figure flashed past. Because there were no plentiful water sources nearby, and the air was dry. This kind of environment was not suited to their survival. The Wisteria clan liked to live in places with dense forests, shade, and plenty of water. But places like those, even if they had no valuable resources, were everyone's targets. The Wisteria clan, which only had the old, the children, and the crippled, what offensive power did they have? Looking at the piles of pebbles that flashed by below, Nan Yu's mood was dour. She resolved inside that she had to make a breakthrough as early as possible to increase her Yao designation. If she could increase her Yao designation, she could take her clansmen into the city to live. The environment inside the cities was much better than in the wilderness. Thinking of the South Sky Arrow art she was cultivating, she was full of confidence in the future. With her present improvement speed, it would not be long before she could receive a satisfactory Yao designation level. Ayu has come back. Ayu has come back. The clan's people saw Nan Yu and were very excited. Nan Yu was the most outstanding young Yao of the Wisteria clan and the hope of the clan. If it was not for the fact that she was so young, the clan leader would have passed the position on to her. In the younger generation, she was the undoubted big sister. When she arrived, everyone crowded over. Nan Yu showed a smile. Is everyone fine? Great. Ayu, don't worry about us. Yes, big sister Ayu, we've been working hard on our cultivation. Everyone talked over each other. Listening to the clan's people speak of what had happened in this past while, Nan Yu's heart was filled with warmth. She took out a large pile of daily essentials from her date seed bracelet. This was bought using the money she earned outside of her time spent cultivating. We really troubled Ayu. The elders of the clan sigh. Their turbid eyes were filled with deep guilt. The entire clan was almost supported entirely by Ayu right now. It is my duty. Nan Yu smiled and comforted. It is a kind of cultivation. If uncles need something, tell me. When she had been little, her parents had died. It was these elders that had raised her. This situation was very common in the clan. Right now, the entire clan was 11 people. Other than the 2 elders, the rest were all children. They had survived only due to the toil and farming of these elders. It was this kind of hardship and poverty that caused the entire clan to become unusually united. The elders of the clan had low cultivation. They did not have any other skill to earn money. They could only plant some basic grains in this patch of pebbly land and barely satisfy their hunger. After talking about daily life with the elders, she stood, patted her hands and gathered all the children. How has everyone cultivated? The children squealed and talked. Nan Yu patiently inspected them one by one. She quickly had a happy expression. 3 children were not far from igniting their star fire and entering the stage of star fire where they would be able to form vine arrows, giving them basic offensive abilities. All of this was due to the South Sky Arrow art. South Sky Arrow art was really the inherited Yao art of the South Sky Wisteria clan. It seemed to be custom-made for them and was the best suited for them to cultivate. She praised the children that had improved the quickest and patiently explained the problems that they encountered in their cultivation. However, she did not teach them the attacking Yao arts of South Sky Arrow art, but taught them little Yao arts. She took Swamo's entire set of teachings and transferred it to them over directly. What Darren said was definitely correct. Looking at the focused little faces, Nan Yu was full of anticipation towards the future. Mo Ru Hua's expression was dark. Just now, he had felt the Yao art imprint that he had put in Song Lin had been destroyed. Who was this person who had no eyes? Who dared to meddle in matters not of his concern? Looking for death. He showed a bloodthirsty smile. It had been very long since he met someone worth fighting. It was good to have something to do today. He had also recently had a breakthrough and was at the time where his confidence was at its peak. A person who did not have eyes coming up to him. Was there anything better than this? My axe is hungering and wants to drink fresh blood. It was a pity that this was the 10-finger prison and there was no way to taste blood. He regretfully smacked his lips. He had a full and bristly beard. His eyes were deep-set and a strange deep red. The slightly hooked nose made him seem sly. When he flew, it was like a blazing thread of fire. He had no intention of concealment. His attitude was extremely arrogant and proud. The Yao he encountered along the way all changed expression when they saw this thread of fire and moved aside in panic. Mo Ru Hua's infamy was known by everyone in this area. A free and smug laugh came from inside the fire thread. With the sound of the fire crackling as it burned, it spread into the surroundings. Inside the fierce fire, Mo Ru Hua narrowed his eyes. He wondered what would the other's face look like when they saw him. He had seen too many guys who thought they were experts get ashen expressions when they saw him. That was way too amusing. Every time it happened, he would find it amusing. He was like a cat playing with the mice under his claw. This kind of life was so wonderful. He greedily sighed. How would he torment that unfortunate person later? Oh, use the Yao art he had just comprehended? This idea wasn't bad. A ball of fierce fire crackled as it flashed past at astounding speed. Entering the first prison, he quickly found the traces of the other. If ever his Yao art imprint was destroyed, it would release an extremely weak imprint. This imprint would not do any damage, but it could guide him to find the other. No one had ever escaped untouched if they met him. Never. Without needing much effort, he found the other. Looking from the distance, it was a lone figure. Mo Ru Hua suddenly became excited. Thinking how the other would desire death in front of his Yao art, he felt the blood inside heat up. It would be such a wonderful feeling. He unhesitatingly sped up. This figure became closer and clearer. The other showed no intentions of fleeing. Wait, he seemed to be waiting. Suddenly, the figure raised its head and looked over. Mo Ru Hua sensed something unusual. The distance between them decreased. The other's appearance became clearer. Why did he find this guy somewhat familiar? Had they interacted before? Mo Ru Hua was slightly puzzled. He frowned and thought back where he had seen this guy before. He did not decrease his speed. Surrounded by fire, Mo Ru Hua charged straight towards Mo. When he was about 3 zhang from the other, a name suddenly jumped into Mo Ru Hua's mind. His face instantly became white. That pair of bloody red eyes filled with viciousness and killing intent turned instantly into terror that reached his bones. Xiao Mo Gu. He was Xiao Mo Gu. Mo Ru Hua's heart seemed to be gripped tightly by an invisible hand without any warning. The sudden feeling of suffocation made his entire body soften. In a moment, his mind was blank and his eyes lost focus. The blow caused by this name almost destroyed his mental defenses. Brute. This was a true brute. A heartless brute that killed 26 Yao successively. A truly lawless brute that caused even the military combat Yao to lose their halo. Thinking about that undefeatable figure wrapped in fire, Mo Ruhua felt his entire body tremble. Compared to Xiao Emogu, he was just a sheep wrapped in wolfskin, so weak and gentle, so innocent and harmless. Those that fell under the butchering knife of Xiao Emogu included geniuses that Mo Ruhua heard of like Yu Zizhou, battle-hardened combat Yao, and a few that he was very familiar with. Those Yao channels had just mentioned them, but Mo Ruhua knew them. He even had good relations with one of them. Those people were truly lawless people that worked in the shadows. They did not blink when they killed, vicious and emotionless. They were all people that Mo Ruhua was very wary about. But all of them, without exception, had fallen under the blade of Xiao Emogu, even though the battles were in the 10-finger prison. But this was not what caused him to feel terror. Just yesterday, the one he had the closest relationship with had died in front of him. Speaking of him, Mo Ruhua was not close to the guy, they had just interacted a few times. But that guy had no friends and had found him in the end. Mo Ruhua could only go. In the end, he had taken care of the corpse. On the surface, it seemed the death was caused by old wounds like injuries to the consciousness, but the true fatal blow was the powerful blow that person's mind had received. That was the true cause of his death. That blow of Xiao Emogu had not just wounded his consciousness, it had completely destroyed his will. What the person had said to him at that time, Mo Ruhua almost didn't believe his ears. The guy that died definitely had taken more than 30 lives, his will was definitely as sturdy as rock. Normal illusory arts could not affect him. He was so vicious and cruel that even Mo Ruhua felt some fear of him. But a guy as powerful as him had met his end by one blow from Xiao Emogu. And that was in the 10-finger prison. This guy was terrifying to an extreme degree. After that incident, in Mo Ruhua's heart, Xiao Emogu was a terrifying existence like a demonic god, and ranked first among those that he would not dare provoke. What were Ming Yuyi, Ji Liu? They can all go to hell. Mo Ruhua usually did not place any importance on those geniuses. In his eyes, those so-called geniuses were garden flowers that lived in the greenhouse. No matter how attractive they looked, they were only able to be admired but not used. Those that did not experience blood and fire, they were just greenhorns. But Xiao Emogu was a vicious beast that climbed out of hell. He had actually ran over to make trouble for Xiao Emogu. A phrase jumped out of his mind. He didn't want to live. Did he not want to live? His mind was completely blank. He lost the ability to speak and to think. He could only look at Xiao Emogu dumbly. Every bone in his body, every piece of muscle was frozen midair. Was today the apocalypse? When he refocused, he was less than one zhang from Xiao Emogu. Chapter 388, Fantasy Flame Tornado. Pu Yao greedily absorbed the golden souls. In the battle between him and Wei, he held the advantage, but he also had expended himself greatly. The 2 golden souls the chief elder of the Grey clan had delivered were a rain that came at the right time. He unhesitatingly stole them from Zuomo's hand. Zuomo did not stop him. He had probably guessed that it would be impossible to prevent. The golden mist permeated Pu Yao's body at a visible rate. Pu Yao showed a satisfied expression. However, a portion of the golden mist drifted towards Wei. Even though it was just a quarter, Pu Yao was still slightly discontent. However, he had no solution to this problem. Just like no matter how much he found this false gentleman an eyesore, he was not able to kill the other. There was a direction connection between his 3,000 years of survival in the Yao Forging Tower and this strange wretched armor. Wei was the armor spirit of this wretched armor. Pu Yao was about the same, but he was not restricted by the armor. He had worked his mind for 3,000 years to try to take over this gravestone armor. But this gravestone armor was a closed system and extremely strange. However, when he thought about how this false gentleman was unable to shrink back into the turtle shell, Pu Yao couldn't help but be smug. Anyway about it, he was a Sky Yao. He understood all kinds of obscure methods, and he finally found a few that were effective. From a certain perspective, he and Wei shared an existence. The two could not destroy each other. Pu Yao could not even absorb the golden souls completely by himself. There definitely would be a portion which Wei would absorb. Even though Pu Yao clearly held the more powerful position, there was nothing for him to feel happy about. Even if this false gentleman had an extraordinary background, but in the eyes of Pu Yao, whose eyes were on the top of his head, this was a very low thing. A piece of armor sitting in a position equal to his, this was too motherfucking displeasing to Ji. Having finished absorbing the golden soul, Pu Yao's hair became even darker and shinier, and his bloody pupil had an additional sheen. The snake-like tongue unconsciously licked his lips with lingering hunger. He glanced at Wei, who was sitting cross-legged. He could see that the golden soul was also of significant help to Wei. A cold smirk floated at the corner of Pu Yao's mouth. After 3,000 years together, he understood his neighbor very well. Even if this guy agreed to not pass Emo's skills to Zuemo, he would not give up so easily. However, Wei definitely would not think that his scant words that day had inspired great trust in Pu Yao. To a person as perverse as Pu Yao, the inspiration brought by the most minuscule hint could change too many things. Just wait and see. Pu Yao narrowed his eyes. Zuemo stared at Emo Ruhua and was slightly surprised. A person that looked so rough used such strange Yao arts. Yao really could not be judged based on their appearances. Emo Ruhua shivered under Zuemo's stare. Zuemo's silence pressured him. What should he say at this time? Sorry, I got the wrong person? Or, brother, I've long heard of you, give your little brother mercy. Or just run away immediately. Various thoughts formed in the pitiful Emo Ruhua's mind. He did not think of resisting at all. Even if he was facing Yu Zizhou, he definitely would not be so nervous. Yu Zizhou was stronger than him, but he believed if he gritted his teeth and did not fear death, he would have a chance at survival. He felt that in terms of viciousness, the great majority of geniuses could not compare to him. But facing Xiao Emogu, no matter if they competed on strength or viciousness, he thought he had no chance at all. What made him want to cry was that he had been the one to instigate this matter. He really was seeking death. He wanted to slap himself. Such an idiotic matter had happened to him. All of the fighters of the Yao world were trying to avoid this brute right now, and he had pushed himself in front of the other. Even he knew that the bounties of the Yao markets for Xiao Emogu were continuously decreasing. The Yao that had been wanting to watch a spectacle were really frightened this time. Vicious and savage, bloodthirsty and murderous, this kind of presence wasn't something a Yao with clean hands could have. The consciousness could not be faked. On this point, almost all the Yao had come to an unusual consensus. Xiao Emogu was a lawless brute whose hands were drenched in blood. The elders of those students ordered them to stop their actions against Xiao Emogu, and some overzealous students were put under house arrest by their clan, unable to leave. The Ji family and the Blue Flower family kept low-key and clearly did not want any further incidents. Even the Genius Alliance, which was usually loud-spoken, collectively lost their voice. They had enough privilege, enough strength, but none were willing to provoke a lawless brute. Even more so a lawless brute who was so young but had such power. Some experienced Yao discussed secretly among themselves, suggesting that if Xiao Emogu could live for another 20 years, then the Yao world would have another butcher. Just as Emo Ruhua was thinking what to do, Xiao Emogu suddenly spoke. You left behind the Yao art imprint on Songlin? Emo Ruhua's heart shook once. This was the classic interrogation. Zuemo's words destroyed the last lingering thread of hope inside. Emo Ruhua was truly a vicious person. The desperate situation provoked his viciousness. He raised his head and said harshly, Yes. I left it. Zuemo made sure, and so he did not hesitate. A few little Yao arts smashed from his hands towards Emo Ruhua. As they started to fight, Emo Ruhua started to calm down and settled to receive Zuemo's attacks. After a few rounds, he quickly found that Xiao Emogu did not have the unstoppable presence he had in the Yao recording arts. His attacks could not be considered strong. However, Emo Ruhua was very battle experienced. His murderousness was usually high, but he was cautious when he fought. After standing up for 20 more breaths, Xiao Emogu was still as soft as water and did not pose too much of a threat. At this time, Mo Ruo finally relaxed completely and his attacks increased. Mo Ruo's Yao art was extremely unique. His hands would continuously flick and swipe at the space in front of him as he was surrounded by dancing flames. The flames in the air floated along to strange paths. It was as though there were invisible threads in front of him that pulled the flames surrounding him. Zhuo Mo randomly threw out a little Yao art and stopped a thread of flame. A feeling of danger rose. He did not hesitate and saw a blade of flame brush past his scalp. There was no time for him to dodge as a spear of flame jumped up and pointed straight at his stomach. Zhuo Mo's legs crossed, and the fingers of his left hand flicked. A little Yao art accurately hit the flame spear and caused it to divert from its path. However, Mo Ruo's attack did not stop, and became even fiercer. The flames surrounding him were not just able to dance and attack to his will, but could transform into all kinds of attack forms. It was the first time that Zhuo Mo encountered a Yao art as strange as this. His actions were uncoordinated and he made a somewhat sorry figure. Mo Ruo saw this and his morale rose. He guessed that Xiao Mo's golden yellow armor probably had some special restriction. Another possibility was that Xiao Mo had been wounded last time. Otherwise, he should not be refraining from using the armor. Thinking about it this way, the terror in Mo Ruo's heart retreated. Xiao Mo's situation was not uncommon. Those Yao arts that were wondrously powerful usually had stringent requirements, or one had to pay a weighty price. If it was like that, then this was undoubtedly the time where Xiao Mo was the weakest. Was this a chance given by the heavens? Thinking about this brute that shook all of the Yao world being abused under his hands, a feeling of exhilaration that he never had before filled his body. His body was even trembling from his excitement. Such a wonderful matter. A matter that he didn't even dare to think of was happening in front of him. The extreme terror and the hopelessness from before decreased. The stimulation and pleasure produced almost consumed him. In this kind of wondrous situation, his state reached the highest peak of his life. The Yao art that he had just had a breakthrough with did not seem raw in his hands and was confidently executed. Each Yao art was carried out instinctively, so perfect that he felt this was a pleasurable experience. Zhuo Mo felt as though he had suddenly landed in a flaming hurricane. All kinds of fire Yao arts covered the skies and earth as they shot at him. Even worse, he had no room to dodge. The others' Yao arts spread out, and their presence was bigger than Zhuo Mo imagined. However, Zhuo Mo was not panicking. His figure looked sorry, but both his expression and his gaze was dead still. The light on his hands never stopped. To him, little Yao arts were as simple as breathing. Sometimes it was one light, sometimes many. 500 kinds of little Yao arts formed from the many combinations in his hands. These little Yao art combinations either guided or stopped. Zhuo Mo would frequently find the smallest space and use them to dodge repeatedly. The flame hurricane continuously strengthened. Looking at Xiao Mo, who was in a sorry state under his Yao arts, Mo Ruo felt extremely smug. The longer his fantasy flame tornado persisted, the more powerful it was. It would continuously strengthen itself, and the amount of spiritual power he expended would not change greatly. The longer this battle dragged out, the more advantageous it was for him. As expected, Xiao Mo became even more harried. There were a few wounds on his body. Even though it was just a few small wounds, Mo Ruo could not help but roar with laughter. Xiao Mo struggle. Experience such wonderful Yao arts. Ooh, another wound so pitiful. Mo Ruo started to play his favorite game of cat and mouse. Looking at Xiao Mo, who was holding on in the tornado, he did not want to miss any scene. TSK. Really hardy. As expected of Xiao Mo. Such beautiful movements. Come on. Let's have another one. Mo Ruo laughed freely. Inside the tornado, Zhuo Mo was silent as he withstood with effort. But Mo Ruo did not notice that the lights on Zhuo Mo's dangling hands were slowly changing. Chapter 389. The gold the lights continuously changed on Zhuo Mo's hands. His brow was tightly furrowed. Little Yao arts flowed like water past his fingertips. He had a serious expression and did not dare to slack off. As the tornado increased in strength, he could clearly feel the pressure increase along with it. He had to use 120% of his attention for each step. If he was the least bit careless, he would be drowned in the barrage of attacks. The fire Yao arts the other cast were extremely unorthodox and completely different than anything he had encountered before. What had attracted his attention, though, was the Yao art imprint from Tsang Lin's consciousness that he had deconstructed. That Yao art imprint had been strange and poisonous. It was completely different than these explosive Yao arts he was seeing now. Zhuo focused attentively on the chaotic-looking fire Yao arts. Like a fish swimming, his consciousness locked onto every Yao art that passed in front of him. He was unusually calm, his mind and eyes clear like a serene lake. The Yao arts passed like flickering silhouettes flashing across the lake. The reflections that these Yao arts created on the lake surface gradually became clear. Zhuo did not blink. His steps were like that of a butterfly weaving between flowers, the little Yao arts on his hands extremely accurate and appearing at the most appropriate time. With his attention occupied, even he did not detect his own transformation. Time was like a line that grew longer the more it was pulled. The lightning-fast Yao arts and fire seemed to become increasingly slow. Each Yao art was unprecedentedly clear in Zhuo's eyes. They seemed to pass by like snails. Every minuscule detail clearly landed in Zhuo's eyes. The wondrous feeling did not cause Zhuo to feel excited. His face was peaceful, and he searched for the traces of what interested him among these Yao arts. The Yao art imprint inside Tsang Lin was his target this time. The abundant fire Yao arts looked domineering, but were not what he desired. Just at this time, the lights on Zhuo's hands finally stabilized. The faint glowing light seemed to form a thin and small glove of light that enveloped his palm. This Yao art was called Tactile Knowledge Grip. This was a Yao art that's what Mo had created. It was not complex, but it had taken great mental effort. This Yao art could clearly identify the attributes of a Yao art and was a Yao art he created especially to help him deconstruct other Yao arts. But it was the first time that he used Tactile Knowledge Grip in battle. A bloody red blade of fire came towards his neck at a difficult angle. Zhuo raised his hand and grabbed at the blade of fire. A hand of light projected from his own and grabbed the blade of fire. The blade of fire shook fiercely as if it was a fish that had been captured and wanted to jerk out of the hand. Pew pew pew. The outer layers of the blade of flame quickly dissipated and revealed a section of bloody vine. Zhuo's eyes brightened and his hands moved in the air. The hand of light gripped onto the bloody vine. Such an unique construction. Zhuo closed his eyes, and his consciousness shot at the bloody vine. The excited Mo Ru was stilled. Xiao Emogu actually closed his eyes. What was this guy thinking of doing? Did he want to surrender? Did Xiao Emogu think that he would let him off like that? Mo Ru's bloodlust had been aroused, and his fear of Zhuo had been thrown out of his mind. A cruel smile suddenly came onto his face. Suddenly, his pupils expanded and his smile froze on his face. Inside the tornado, the figure of Xiao Emogu with his closed eyes became even hard to predict like wisps of smoke. The sky full of Yao arts couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. But Mo Ru suddenly had a bad feeling. Just now, Xiao Emogu had been a sorry figure, but now he seemed so at ease as though he was strolling around. Had he been pretending before? There was a section of blood vine inside the blade of flame. Shocked, Zhuo's interest rose. This was it. The bloody vine was what he was interested in. When he had been healing Tsang Lin, he had found the bloody vine was very unique. It could securely root itself inside the consciousness of the enemy and was extremely hard to eradicate. Zhuo had spent a great deal of effort to deconstruct that little section of bloody vine. Some of its unique structure had interested him greatly. This was why he had especially waited for Mo Ru to come find him. Zhuo's style was to only act if there were benefits. He would not make trouble merely on behalf of Tsang Lin. That little section of bloody vine excited Zhuo, but it was just a little section and not a complete structure. Mo required a more complete bloody vine because this seemed related to another Yao art. 10 breaths later, Mo crushed the little section of bloody vine that he had finished studying and started to search for the next target. The light grip was a new Yao art he made. It was constructed from 12 little Yao arts and specifically used to peel away the outer layers of the other's fire Yao arts. His use of little Yao arts were at a mastery level. Even Pu Yao would occasionally praise it. After continuously capturing 6 fire Yao arts, Mo found that the bloody vine inside these fire Yao arts were not very different. He frowned again. The bloody vines inside these fire Yao arts were still incomplete. He raised his head and narrowed his eyes towards Mo Ruhua. It seemed that he had to get this guy to put more effort in. Mo Ruhua coincidentally saw Mo's gaze and his body was instantly chilled. His face was ugly. The other seemed to have adjusted to his illusory flame tornado. Damn it. Why was it like this? The fantasy flame tornado was one of his killing moves and had never failed before. Viciousness flashed through his eyes. Having escalated the fighting to this point, if it was not you that died, it would be me. He gritted his teeth and burrowed into the tornado. Mo stilled at Mo Ruhua's action. He quickly had a wary expression. The fantasy flame tornado that had been rampaging about suddenly became silent without any decrease in speed. The fire Yao arts inside the tornado flew backwards rapidly. Mo Ruhua was like a strong magnet, attracting all the fire Yao arts to fly over. A strange and dangerous presence covered Mo was motionless as he stared at Mo Ruhua in the sky. Mo Ruhua was surrounded by all kinds of fire Yao arts. He glared at Mo and insanity flashed through his eyes. All of his thoughts disappeared at this time, his consciousness was all consumed. The fire Yao arts floating around him suddenly released an enchanting red light. Pia. Like magnets, fire Yao arts were attracted to each other. Pia pia pia. The fire Yao arts around Mo Ruhua were combining into pairs and trios to become even larger fire Yao art. The powerful presence was like a gust of wind that blew at Mo narrowed his eyes. His hands were like blooming flowers. Tactile knowledge grip was used to its limits. Threads of light floated from between his hands and the mist-like light formed a crystal-like ball of light in the air above Mo's dancing hands. He used the layering method of sky glass wave on tactile knowledge grip to form this crystal ball of light. Lights continuously flew out of Mo's blurred fingers and entered the crystal ball of light. The ball of lightly slowly revolved and gradually formed a glass-like hand. Mo's narrowed eyes became brighter. Every minuscule change in the space surrounding the glass hand would appear in his eyes. Even the thin hair-like strands of spiritual power that passed by the hand would be accurately captured by Mo. It was the first time he had used the tactile knowledge grip like this. Mo Ruhua seemed to be surrounded by an aura of red light. The enchanting red light carried the presence of blood. The fire Yao arts floating by his side had completely changed. Their mass was 5 or 6 times what it had been before. Mo's eyes brightened. Waves of strange spiritual thought came from these bloated fire Yao arts. Mo suddenly had a feeling that there seemed to be something alive inside each fire Yao art. Mo thought of one of his own Yao arts, Archaic Wasteland's sacrificial art. Up until now, he had seen many Yao arts, but this was the second Yao art that was like the Archaic Wasteland's sacrificial art. Yao arts were Yao arts. No matter how strong they were, how powerful the presence it produced, but only these 2 Yao arts could produce vitality. When Mo had been deconstructing the Yao art imprint inside Song Lin, he had detected the faint presence of life contained in the blood vine. This made him very curious. But it had not been as strong as what he was feeling now. The threads of spiritual thought inside the fire Yao arts were filled with a feeling of darkness and maliciousness. Compared to the Archaic Wasteland sacrificial art, the vitality contained in these fire Yao arts was much weaker and incomplete. But those threads of spiritual thought filled with vitality made Mo feel spirited like he never had been before. Archaic Wasteland sacrificial art was his final ultimate move, and would be used to save his life at a crucial moment. Pu Yao had told him that the archaic wasteland sacrificial art was not one move, but a set of Yao arts. But no matter how Zuemo asked about the topic, Pu Yao never mentioned one bit about the other moves of this set of Yao arts. Pu Yao closed his mouth and never even discussed the origins of this wasteland beast. What Zuemo felt even more helpless about was that he could not find any similar Yao arts to refer to. He did not fear if Pu Yao did not tell him, but if he did not even have a Yao art to use as reference, then he could do nothing. Until today. This was the first Yao art Zuemo encountered that had attributes similar to the archaic wasteland sacrificial art. How could he let pass by? 5 enormous fire Yao arts floated next to Mo Ruhua. The 5 fire Yao arts were of different shapes. One was like the head of an axe, another like a snake, while the remaining 3 were hard to distinguish. Mo Ruhua's entire body was covered in the enchanting red light. The twisted face had a few hints of evil. Go die! Mo Ruhua bellowed. 5 dashes of red light tore the air and smashed toward Zuemo. Zuemo's pupils suddenly shrank, his hand seemed to wave weakly. The crystal hand was like the willow branch blown by the wind and coincidentally caught one of the red lights. In a moment, countless bits of information entered Zuemo's mind. Time seemed to stop during this moment. Zuemo's mind moved at an unprecedented speed as it digested the enormous amount of information that flooded it. In order to digest the information, he stopped all of his actions, and his body became motionless. He suddenly turned to a wooden puppet. A faint enchanting red light suddenly lit up in Zuemo's puppet-like eyes. The other 4 streaks of red light instantly flew in front of him. The bright red light reflected onto Zuemo's face. Mo Ruhua's roars of laughter came into his ears. Zuemo was motionless and had no intentions of dodging. No one noticed that the red light in his eyes suddenly exploded. The red light instantly engulfed Zuemo, laughing furiously in the air. Mo Ruhua did not notice a hair-thick gray energy silently crept up his back, quickly permeated through it, and disappeared. Chapter 392. Working together, Wei Sheng sat cross-legged with the black sword upright by his side. For some unknown reason, the corrosive fiendish mist would not come within 3 zhang of him. He opened his inky black eyes that shone with a determined light. His daily life was extremely routine, so routine it was frightening. Practicing the sword, meditation, and teaching others became the essential and only parts of his daily life. He would repeat the dull and monotonous cultivation over and over. He did not use Ling power, relying on just his physical body, to slice and chop until all of his strength was exhausted and his entire body trembled. A Jin Dan expert cultivating to the point that his body would not stop trembling. Both Zhong Ru and Yizheng, whose cultivation emphasized hard work, felt ashamed when they saw this kind of self-abusive and sadistic cultivation method, much less the sword Xiao and guard camp. When everyone mentioned Wei Xingdaran, they would feel admiration from the depths of their hearts. Every person knew hard work and persistence could lead to improvement, but how many could do it? The only one that could reach Wei Xing's level was only Wei Xingdaran. Also a Jindan, Xieshan had essentially become Wei Xing's manservant and followed him like a shadow. Wei Xing breathed out. Hiss! The fiendish mist 3 zhang away tore apart as though an invisible sword essence had cut through it. He had a satisfied expression. It may have been due to teaching others that he had recently comprehended much and improved greatly. Suddenly, a wail came from Zuemo's tent. It was Shidi. Wei Sheng's figure suddenly disappeared from his spot. Pain, pain. Ow, ow, so painful. Inside the tent, Zuemo was jumping about as though a fire was lit on his butt. His mouth was open and his nose and brow was almost squeezed together. It hurts so much. Zuemo ran around in the tent like a headless chicken as though it could relieve his pain. Lil, fire seemed to have found a new toy and instantly became excited. It hung on to Zuemo's behind and swung around as it chirped cheerfully. Seeing the chaotic scene, Wei Xing had a wry smile on his face. His heart relaxed. Shidi, what is it? You all right? Hiss, hiss. The sound of Zuemo inhaling could be clearly heard. As he ran around, he waved his hand. Nothing, nothing. Lil, Fire found it fun and seemed to mimic his speech. Chirp, 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 chirp. Zhuemo glared angrily. Lil, Fire was frightened and its body froze in the air. Hiss, Zhuemo inhaled again. His expression of fury instantly dissipated. His expression was very strange as he started to jump around in a hurry. Lil, Fire recovered from fright and thought that Zhuemo was playing with it. It chirped happily as it leapt over and hung on behind Zhuemo. Wei Xing was helpless against Shidi's weirdness. He shook his head and left. Zhuemo knew that if he was thrown out of the wasteland beast chessboard, his consciousness would probably be injured, but he had not expected his consciousness injury to be so painful. If he had known, he definitely would not have done this dumb thing. It had been too long since he was last injured. Zhuemo had almost forgotten the pain of consciousness injuries. This time, it really was so painful he wanted to die. The damned little red. Wait for he will return. As he breathed in jerks, Zhuemo gritted his teeth and swore an oath. Several black figures passed by like lightning, and several sharp edges crisscrossed in the air before suddenly appearing on the fiend soul beast. The fiend soul beast was instantly dismembered, and leaving behind only a black fong and a bead. The fong and the bead were put away. The hardship guards had joyful expressions. At this time, the expression of one of the people shifted. Gathering orders. Back to the camp, immediately. The other people quickly disappeared in the fiendish mist without another word. In the guard campgrounds, Shu Long looked at everyone who had finished gathering and was very comforted. Everyone's improvement in this time had been great and unexpected to him. All of the hardship guards that cultivated hardship guard had formed their weapons. He had originally predicted they would need 1 or 2 years and had not expected it to be complete in less than a month. He was filled with respect and awe towards the mystery Darren inside the necklace. In his view, that Darren could do anything. It was the guidance of this Darren in this recent while that caused everyone to all finish forming their weapons. All of the cultivation regimes had been personally prescribed by the mystery Darren. In this short month, the power of the entire guard camp had multiplied. His thoughts were interrupted by the gazes of those below him. He focused and said in a deep voice, "In this recent while, everyone has cultivated successfully and finished forming the weapons." Good. Very good. Shu Long's praise caused the hardship guards below to raise their heads and puff up their chests, their faces bright. Shu Long had a warm personality, but he was extremely stern when he supervised their cultivation. Everyone felt honored to receive his praise and were very proud. The expressions of everyone landing in his eyes, the corners of Shu Long's mouth imperceptibly smiled. He then said in a serious tone, "In order to commend everyone's recent efforts, Darren has passed down new cultivation techniques." Everyone below instantly had joy and anticipation on their faces. Everyone has to work hard on this great day hardship guard. Its power is even greater. I won't say much, but only when our strength becomes strong can we give our service to Darren, to be able to protect Darren. Does everyone still remember the oath we took in the past? Whoosh, everyone simultaneously bowed and said together, "Do not dare to forget." Every hardship guard had excitement on their faces. "You are too daring." Wei's expression was at ease as though he was narrating a small nondescript matter. It is not so easy to modify a MO skill. "You feel guilty," Pu Yao said coldly. There was no warmth in his bloody pupil. "What do I feel guilty for?" Wei's voice did not ripple at all. Pu Yao smirked, his expression filled with scorn. "You definitely regret saying so much that day. You did not expect that I would deduce so much from your scattered rambling." "Yes, this point is unexpected to me." Wei openly nodded. "Your skill in Yao arts surpasses my imagination. A Yao who is able to change MO skills using Yao arts. I cannot accomplish this." "Of course you cannot do it." Pu Yao was not modest at all. Wei smiled slightly and his star-like eyes were bright. "Your theoretical level is definitely the most outstanding that I have ever seen, but you lack experience. Spells, Yao arts, MO skills, they do come from a common root, but after so many years of development, the divisions are clear. No matter if it is Yao arts or Mo skills, they have developed far on their own paths. Pu Yao lowered his head to think for a moment. When he raised his head, the scorn on his face had disappeared. He said seriously, "Your words are not wrong. My Yao art theory and knowledge are based on the experience of those before me. These are my fundamentals, but I lack the fundamentals of Mo skills." "A very clear awareness," Wei calmly praised. "Your conditions," Pu Yao glanced at Wei and said coldly. "A complete golden soul." Wei raised a finger. "Half." Pu Yao shook his head. "Agreed." Wei unhesitantly nodded. He knew that even if he did not tell Pu Yao, with Pu Yao's talents, it would not be difficult to study and come to understand. He only needed to find some experimental subjects and make comparisons to come to the conclusion. Righteous Yao might not use these kinds of extreme methods, but for someone who was insane like Pu Yao, there was nothing that he would not do. Also, Wei's original intention was not to gain something from this transaction. He hoped that this was a good beginning. No matter if it was against Pu Yao or Zhuo Mo, this was extremely important as those that cultivated Great Day Hardship Guard were Zhuo Mo's subordinates. Wei was clear to the contents of the Great Day Hardship Guard that Pu Yao had modified using the Great Day Mo physique. Pu Yao had not concealed any part of the process from him. He was also clear about the problems of the Great Day Hardship Guard. Truthfully, Pu Yao had shocked him greatly. A Yao that modified a Mo skill. He had never heard of such a thing in his past. More crucially, the Great Day Hardship Guard that Pu Yao had modified had an extremely high-level skill. If this Mo skill was thrown into the Mo world, it definitely would become a Mo skill that would be passed down in a clan. Wei was also clear that if he wanted to do anything, he needed to first prove his value. Because he had a practical landlord. He did not conceal anything and proactively discussed with Pu Yao to make this Mo skill even more complete. Pu Yao also saw Wei in a different light. Existences such as armor spirits might accumulate large amounts of knowledge because they had long lifespans, but they were not necessarily outstanding in terms of intelligence. But Wei showed how he was different compared to normal armor spirits. He did not just have a wealth of knowledge, he also had outstanding intelligence. This completely upended Pu Yao's understanding of armor spirits. He was slightly curious. The origins of this false gentleman didn't seem to be small. No matter how much of a biased opinion Pu Yao had towards Wei, the discussion went extremely smooth. These two geniuses quickly found synergy. A completely new, Great Day Hardship Guard came out of the stove. When the skill was completed, Pu Yao and Wei exchanged a look and found the anticipations in each other's eyes. This completely new Mo art, with the Hardship Guard as the foundation and merging the Great Day Mo physique as well as Pu Yao's Yao arts, what heights would this reach? This was really worthy of anticipating. The next morning when Zhuo Mo woke up, he found that the wounded consciousness that had caused him so much pain had healed. Tim, what happened? Zhuo Mo jumped up. He touched around and found that there was no pain. He hurriedly inspected his body. Had something new occurred inside his body? Calming down, he entered his inner perspective. He was completely shocked by the scene in front of him. Chapter 391, Great Mo Physique. The flame seed inside Zhuo Mo's body tinged with gold flickered. These golden flames had extremely unique shapes. They seemed to be like overlapping waves, layered together. There were more than 5 layers. The color of each layer was different. The innermost layer was almost transparent, and the outermost layer was pure dazzling golden yellow. They burned silently. Zhuo Mo suddenly recalled his golden crow fire seed. He hurried to look and his expression changed slightly. The golden crow fire had disappeared without a trace. Golden crow fire was a 4th-grade flame and it could completely fulfill any of his present demands. It could melt gold and iron easily, and was one of Zhuo Mo's greatest assistants. Its sudden disappearance instantly made Zhuo Mo slightly panicked. A thought suddenly jumped into his mind. Had some new change happened to the golden crow fire? His thoughts shifted, and the layered flame changed as expected. Pew, large amounts of layered flame suddenly erupted out of Zhuomo's palm and formed a hand of fire. Zhuo curiously put his hand in front of him. The boundaries between the layers of the golden layered flame were extremely clear. It exuded an astonishing heat, but his palm was as cold as ice. Zhuo found it interesting and his consciousness burrowed into the golden layered flame. Pew! The golden layered flame suddenly erupted. A pressuring heat, with Zhuo at the center, exploded outwards. The defensive formations of the tent suddenly lit up with a red glow and stopped this wave of heat. Pia pia pia. The red light retreated. There was a crackling like glass breaking, and Zhuomo's heart leapt when he heard this. The last layer of formations forcibly stopped this terrifying wave of heat. Zhuo instantly released a breath. However, when he saw the mess inside the tent, his heart shivered. There was a layer of black glass on the ground. This was because the heat had melted the granite. Zhuo instantly judged that the golden layered flame was better than the golden crow fire. At least 5th grade. Zhuo thought to himself somewhat cheerfully. If it wasn't that he knew the golden crow macro formation and could harvest golden crow fire at will, obtaining the 4th grade golden crow fire would not be easy, much less obtaining this golden layered flame of a high grade. The golden layered flame had a higher grade and was even more powerful. The requirement to control it was even higher. Zhuo thought to himself that he had to spend time studying this golden layered flame. Otherwise, it was shameful if he had a treasure and could not use it. The changes to Zhuomo's body were not just limited to the golden layered flame. If he did not see it with his own eyes, Zhuo would not believe that this body was his. Bones like crystal, the blood vessels that all glowed, and the patterns on them could be clearly seen. The blood inside the vessels was bright and fresh, filled with vitality and shining with a faint golden light. They circulated extremely slowly. If Zhuomo's consciousness was not extremely sensitive, he would have thought that the blood was unmoving. Zhuo quickly found the cause. The blood that was tinged with golden light was now much more viscous. Even the blood vessels were multiple times thicker and gave off the feeling of power. Other than the channels and blood vessels, the muscles and tendons inside Zhuomo's body had completely transformed. The strong muscles had a faint gold sheen like it had been brushed with a layer of golden oil. The tendons inside his body were thinner and more slender than before, but Zhuo could feel the astonishing power contained inside. Zhuo had a strange feeling that he had become a weirdo that had endless strength and an inhumanly strong body. Slightly insecure, Zhuo instantly ran into the sea of consciousness. When he saw Pu Yao, he burst out, "Pu, what is with my body?" Pu Yao's eyes were closed in relaxation. He said lazily, "Don't startle over nothing. Your Great Day Mo physique advanced, that's all." Great Day Mo physique advanced? Zhuo realized and the stone inside his heart landed. He was instantly interested. So it advanced. What are the benefits from advancing? Pu, tell me more. The corner of Pu Yao's uncovered eye imperceptibly twitched and then he drawled. An insignificant Great Day Mo physique advancement, what else is there to say? Zhuo instantly was discontent. He smirked. An insignificant Great Day Mo physique advancement? If you have the skill, do this insignificant thing as well. Don't hold the bread and say you don't have food. Gu is relying on this to kill Yao and Mo. If we can't walk out of this ghastly place, can you? Pu Yao was speechless. Wei felt very good inside. Even though helping Zhuo in secret had been an action taken out of helplessness, but now he found that this guy was truly a weirdo. He had lost a few times to Pu Yao. He had a deep experience of Pu Yao's cunning and maliciousness. Seeing Pu Yao defeated by Zhuo, he felt great no matter how he looked at it. If he wasn't wary of Pu Yao, he wanted to clap his hands in pleasure. However, he maintained his position and pretended to not overhear Zhuo and Pu Yao's argument. Pu Yao was one to get even. Zhuo was unafraid, but he could not say the same. Unable to go back into the gravestone, his power was weaker than Pu Yao. Even more, Pu Yao was more cunning than him, more vicious than him, and dominated him in all aspects. Look at the time, you are still hiding things? Zhuo was furious. Pu Yao suddenly opened his eyes. You can ask him about the Great Day Mo physique. Wei. Zuoremo was slightly puzzled. He turned to ask Wei, you understand the Great Day Mo physique? He suddenly nodded in realization. Right. You jumped out of the gravestone, you definitely understand the Great Day Mo physique. Wei was shocked inside. He looked at Pu Yao, who had closed his eyes again and was puzzled. After the gravestone had been sealed by Pu Yao, he had been forced into an agreement with Pu Yao and could not to pass Mo's skills onto Zuemo. This time, Pu Yao had actually suggested of his own initiative for Zuemo to ask him for help with the Great Day Mo physique. Wasn't this strange? Out of caution, he shook his head. I cannot teach you Mo skills. Why? Zuemo stilled. His eyes widened and he suddenly showed realization. He said generously, what do you want? Name a price. Wei closed his mouth and did not speak. Pu Yao opened his eyes again and said to Wei, this guy is right. If we cannot leave this ghastly place, no one will be well off. Since his Great Day Mo physique has advanced, it is beneficial for everyone if you teach him a bit. This does not betray your oath. Wei's bewilderment increased. Pu Yao's words were righteous and appeared reasonable, but the more it appeared so, the more Wei felt the other had a scheme. Wei pondered it momentarily inside and then made a decision. He nodded. All right. What he needed to do was not betray his oath and be able to pass Mo's skills to Zuemo. Even if Pu Yao had secret intentions, he decided to take the chance. Seeing Wei agree, Zuemo was overjoyed. He hurriedly sat opposite Wei. Pu Yao closed his eye again. He might have been resting his mind or meditating. Wei pushed aside his stray thoughts and slowly began. The Great Day Mo physique is an extremely rare Mo physique, extremely young and strong, unparalleled in dominance. You are familiar with the 6 transformations of the Great Day Mo physique. Do you still remember when you had used all 6 transformations at the same time? A bit. Zuoremo nodded. It has a name, Great Mo physique, Wei said faintly, and a strange look flashed through his eyes. Great Mo physique? The Great Mo physique is the sign that Mo physique has reached maturation, but this situation is very strange. Wei said in a deep voice, you are not a pure Mo theoretically, the possibility of achieving Great Mo physique is very low, but you managed to do it. Even now, I do not understand the cause of this. Would there be any danger? Zuoremo hurried to ask. The Great Day Mo physique did have great power, but if he lost his life in trade for this, then it was not profitable. There is no danger. Wei said with a warm smile. For you, there are only benefits and no harmful effects. You should have found the changes in your body. Those are traits unique to your Great Mo physique. Your body right now is a body that cannot be unbroken. The flying swords controlled by Ningmai Xiuzhe cannot harm you. The Diana Xiu have similar techniques that create a body that cannot be damaged. Other than a few traits, there is no basic difference. Zuemo listened extremely carefully. Wei's understanding of the Mo physique seemed to be deeper than Pu Yao. The layered flame inside your body is called the Great Day Banded Flame. It is a kind of 6th grade fire seed. Very few Mo that cultivate the Great Day Mo physique can form the Great Day Banded Flame. This must be related to the Xiuzhe spells you cultivated before. Wei said humbly, the Great Day Mo physique is very rarely seen. I do not know much about it and can only use some of what I know for you as reference. The Great Day Banded Flame was actually a 6th grade fire seed. In this moment, Zuemo felt so happy he could faint. 6th grade fire seed. This meant that his forging and dan-making would increase by 2 levels. Zuemo wore a stupid smile. Wei saw Zuemo's expression and couldn't help but grin. He did not hurry Zuemo along, and waited for Zuemo to come out of his daze. When Zuemo's gaze became clear again, he continued, after using the 6 changes of the Great Day Mo physique to form the Great Mo physique, it can open the deep Mo levels. How is it different? Wei smiled and then said seriously, the 6 changes of the deep Mo levels dramatically increase in power. Only then will you truly have the power to equal the top Jindan Xiuzhe. With an outstanding appearance, a humble presence, A serious expression, the cross-legged Wei was like the most devout preacher. How do you open the deep Mo layer's 6 transformations? Zuemo asked. Comprehension. How do I gain comprehension? Very sorry, I do not know that either. Wei shook his head with a slight smile. Let me tell you of an example of someone that comprehend the deep Mo level. Maybe this will give you some help. The deep pupils lit up with the sheen of remembrance, the handsome face filled with reminisce. My previous master's Mo physique when entering the kernel stage was called Serene Python. It cannot compare to your Great Day Mo physique. The Serene Python is a Mo physique famed for its strength, and it only has 3 transformations. Wei's tone was deep and carried an inexplicable charisma as he narrated. She was 14 when she reached the great Mo physique of the Serene Python. Wei raised his head to see the shock on Zuemo's face and smiled. He then said, however, it was only when she was 17 that she opened the deep Mo layer of the 3 Serene Python changes. In these 3 years, she journeyed through 9 Mo-jies. Zuemo was stunned. He murmured, 9. He could not imagine traveling over 9 Mo-jies. Even if they were little jie like Sky Moon Jie, it wasn't just a matter of 1 or 2 months to cross one of them. Zuemo felt that he had gone many places, but compared to this person, it was an embarrassing comparison. Even more at 14. She fought 427 times, killed 59 Mo, wounded another 30, and was wounded 24 times. Zuemo froze in shock. Chapter 392. Making a Wish. What deep Mo level? Go to hell. This was the only thing Zuemo thought after hearing Wei speak of his previous master. If he really followed what Wei suggested, Zuemo guessed that the only person among his compatriots that could accomplish this would be Wei Xingxixiang. Other people, including him, definitely could not realize it. Since it was an insurmountable task, then there was no need to trouble himself over it. This was Zuemo's usual style. Compared to the unreliable deep Mo level, it was more important to find news regarding the battle of sealed extinction. Due to his lack of wealth in the past, he had delayed going to the second prison. Now that he had money, this matter had to progress quickly. Thinking about it, Zuemo entered the wasteland beast chessboard again. This time, he did not go to find Nanyu and Song Zhe, and went alone into the second prison. Song Lin's grievous injury had just healed and he needed to recover. Song Zhe and Nanyu had to go through the test of the prison battlefield before they could enter the second prison. Zuemo, due to finishing the prison-breaking battle, had already received the qualifications to enter the second prison. The second prison was called Dance of Falling Maples. Endless mountain ranges and large groves of fire-red maple trees extended endlessly into the distance. When a gentle wind blew past, the woods would creak, and fire-red maple leaves would be caught up in the wind and leave their branches. In that time, the maple leaves would be like red pixies that danced in the wind. Even the clouds in the sky would be slightly tinged with red. The scenery in front of him was as bright as fire, but Zuemo felt an unspeakable feeling of sorrow and desolation in his chest. Zuemo looked dazedly at the maple leaves floating in the wind. Was it that his calm had decreased after his consciousness was wounded? Zuemo focused and mocked himself. He walked forward. Nanyu looked with determination at the prison battlefield in front of her. Suddenly, Song Zhe's laugh came from behind her. You has also come here. Nanyu turned around and couldn't help but be surprised. Today, Song Zhe seemed to be completely different than usual. Battle intent exuded faintly from his body, and his steps were determined. She instantly understood. Sangdi is also planning on today? Yes, I can't fall too much behind you, Song Zhe said with an open laugh. Nanyu had slightly mirth on her face, the competitiveness in her eyes rising. Then let's see who succeed first. All right. See you in the second prison. See you in the second prison. The two figures charged into the prison battlefield at the same time. The Maple Leaf Market was the Yao city of the second prison and also one of the largest cities of the Ten-Finger Prison. Usually, Most Yao that entered the second prison were Yao that had successfully achieved planting of the spirit. Those who were successfully managed to rise above the lowest classes of Little Yao and Ghost Attendant Yao. The Yao of this stage were called Night Stalk Yao. The Yao that just ignited their star fire were called Little Yao. Those Yao that completed transformation were called Ghost Attendant Yao, and those that successfully planted their spirit were Night Stalk Yao. Night Stalk Yao was the true fundamental level of the Yao world. The local core's lowest requirement was Ghost Attendant Yao, but the true backbone of these core were the Night Stalk Yao. A core commanded directly by the Council of Elders were at minimum Night Stalk Yao. Zhuo Mo could clearly feel that the Yao that passed by were much stronger than the Wasteland Beast chessboard as he had expected. Night Stalk Yao were equivalent to Ningmai Xiuzhe. However, due to how cultivating Yao arts meant communicating with the world, the presence exuded by Night Stalk Yao was stronger than Ningmai Xiuzhe. Many Night Stalk Yao that successfully planted their spirit were unable to gather and conceal their power. All kinds of flowing rings of light would appear in the surroundings. Along the way, Zhuo Mo saw many strange and weird rings of light. Some were bright green, others fire red, some were shaped like a sickle while others had teeth or were crescents. It broadened his visions. These moving rings of light were related to the Yao arts they cultivated. Night Stalk Yao that just entered the spirit planting stage were unable to completely control their consciousness. A portion of the consciousness that leaked out would naturally form the Yao art they cultivated and produce stray rings of light. Yao who had good eyes were even able to judge the attribute of the Yao art from the rings of light. Those Night Stalk Yao that did not have rings of light were actually stronger. But no matter if they had a light ring or not, any Yao coming that saw Zhuo Mo's face clearly would pale and then hurriedly jump to the side. One's name was like the shadow of a tree. With the name of Xiao Emogu, Zhuo Mo was a young expert that was known through the Yao world, especially after he had killed 26 Yao successively. It had given him a reputation of brutality and no one dared to cause trouble for him. Anywhere he passed, the crowds of Yao avoided him. But a problem also came along. Zhuo Mo was planning to ask for directions. Before he could speak, the other would turn and run as though their butts were on fire. A few ran even faster when they heard Zhuo Mo speak, hating that their parents hadn't given birth to them with 2 more legs. Zhuo Mo could only grimace. After a lot of effort, he finally learned the position of the Maple Leaf Market. After a few rounds at the Maple Leaf Market, he was slightly disappointed. As expected, this place was still quite low level. The things sold and the contents of those bounties were also low level. No wonder Song Lin suggested for him to go to the 3rd prison. He was doubtful if he could find information on the Battle of Sealed Extinction at the 3rd prison. A short while later, there were many Yao surrounding him. They looked at Zhuo Mo with respect and awe and occasionally disgust. However, no one came over, clearly wary of Xiao Emoji's reputation as a butcher. Zhuo Mo shook his head. After asking for directions to the prison battlefield, he left. Everything Zhuo Mo passed was extremely novel and unfamiliar, but Zhuo Mo wasn't in the mood at this time. The sealed extinction battlefield was like a heavy rock weighing on his heart. Right now, they seemed to have it easier, but Zhuo Mo knew if it dragged on, their situation would become even more precarious. The prison battlefield of the Dance of Falling Maples was a stand of beautiful and enchanting maple trees. Zhuo Mo did not stop and unhesitatingly stepped into it. Zhong Ru's complexion was red gold, his lips slightly curved upward as though in a smile. His right hand seemed to be holding a flower as he sat with his legs crossed. His entire body seemed to be made from copper, a dignified and grave presence filling the entire room. A long while later he slowly opened his eyes. Gold light flashed through his eyes, and the spell on his fingers disappeared. The dignified and grave presence around him instantly disappeared. An uncontrollable look of joy floated in Zhong Ru's pupils. He finally saw a great path towards Jindan. When he had received an attainment golden body from Darren, even a person as composed as him was stunned where he stood. 6th grade spell. Darren had given him a 6th grade spell. And it was also a 6th grade Diana Xiao spell. For some reason, his nose had become sore, and he had almost cried. No one knew the greatest reason he had chosen the path of the Dhyana Shio was that he lacked spells. His talent was not outstanding, and sects would not accept him based on merit. His family was also extremely poor and could not pay the tribute. No sect was willing to accept disciples like him. A Dhyana Shio that had wandered by had felt pity at his situation and given him Sky Wave Fist Scripture. This fist scripture was very simple and could even be called rough, but Zhongru was still very grateful to that Dhyana Shio. He knew this fist scripture was extremely rudimentary. If he wanted to progress, other than obtaining higher-level spells, he could only work on his samadhi to achieve Ningmai. He used his outstanding persistence and finally reached Ningmai, even forming an abhina. Only he knew the hardship of this entire journey. However, samadhi meditation was not the solution to all. He furiously worked on his samadhi, but he quickly found that relying on just the practice of samadhi was unable to allow him to progress further. Zhongru had been disappointed, but he had not felt sad. He was not an ambitious person and only worked hard on cultivation each day. But when Zhuemo handed Attainment Golden Body to him, everything changed. His cultivation that had remained still for so long actually grew a little sliver. Such a wondrous effect, as expected of a 6th grade spell. What he had never expected was that, other than the Attainment Golden Body, Turin also gave him the 9-turn Sky Soil Disc. A 6th grade spell, and a 6th grade talisman. Things that he didn't even dare to dream about were now in his hands. Darren had also said, using the Vajragada as the spindle, the 9-turn Sky Soil Disc as the wheel, he would reforge the two into a prayer wheel that would definitely be powerful. Threads of warmth rose in Zhongru's heart, and a smile floated at the corner of his mouth. Darren never did unprofitable business. He wanted him to sell his life for his entire life. Then he will sell himself to Darren. His hands suddenly came together, he lowered his eyes, his features dignified. His Dhyana heart was calm like an old well, a determined and grave voice echoing in his mind. Zhongru wishes, forsaking the path to Buddhahood, to use this body as a vajra to protect Darren. His Dhyana heart that was calm suddenly became covered with black clouds. Wind and rain came, lightning flashed, thunder roared, and created waves that reached the sky. Zhongru gave a muffled grunt and his expression changed slightly. But he seemed to not detect it. He closed his eyes, his voice as determined as usual. Zhongru wishes, forsaking the path to Buddhahood, to use this body as a vajra to protect Darren. His body trembled fiercely, his Dhyana heart cracking all over and on the edge of collapsing. Zhongru gritted his teeth and closed his eyes, reciting his wish over and over. He seemed to be situated in a terrible storm, lightning snakes flashing above him and illuminating his determined face. He piously recited again and again the wish he gave. Boom! A strange power suddenly formed from his nearly destroyed Dhyana heart and quickly burrowed into his limbs and organs. Even more wondrous was that it permeated Zhongru's Ling power and every bit of blood and flesh of his body. At the same time, the Ling power inside his body seemed to be awakened and started to flow according to Attainment Golden Body. A thread of strange power burrowed into his forehead. In the camp, everyone suddenly stopped their actions and turned to look at a corner of the camp. Everyone had shock on their faces. Core formation. Someone was entering Jindan. Yi Zheng, who was not far away from Zhongru, suddenly paled. His lips trembled and he exclaimed, "Wish power! Buddhahood abandonment death wish." How was it possible? Someone had given a death wish. Did he not know that if one gave a death wish, they could not become a Buddha anymore? Was he crazy? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.